Chapter 1703 Huge Price. Chapter 1703 Huge Price. What Sir Dog Mad Dog said had shaken Jianghu Shuang. An inverse cultivator required an accumulation of divine power when they were at the level of real God. It was an accumulation of extravagantly extensive divine power. 100 drops of ultimate divine power water droplet were harder to precipitate at the later stage. Jianghu Shuang had massacred so many star demons in the 8th layer and collected so many demon cores, but he had only managed to precipitate 10 drops of ultimate divine power water droplet with difficulty and broken through to become a stage 2 ultimate real God. The remaining ultimate divine power water droplet required absorption of a terrifyingly extensive amount of pure power. An emperor god had absorbed 3 years' worth of power of absolute beginning in divine pond of absolute beginning until he fully recovered to his peak. Even if an inverse cultivator were to stay in divine pond of absolute beginning for 5 to 10 years, his ultimate divine power might not be able to reach a saturation point, which was when he would break through and become stage 3 ultimate real God. Real God Wu Bei stayed in divine pond of absolute beginning for 8 years. But in the end, he obviously had yet to reach his limit before he was chased out by Sir God Luo Sha by force. With the lesson of real God Wu Bei, tell me, would the controller of divine pond of absolute beginning, Sir God Luo Sha, let you enter divine pond of absolute beginning? Sir God Mad Dog said with a spurious smile. Jianghu Shuang heard and smiled bitterly. Is there no way at all? Jianghu Shuang asked. Whether or not is there a way, we shall see after we meet Sir God Luo Sha, Sir God Mad Dog said. Jianghu Shuang nodded. He knew that it was useless no matter how much Sir God Mad Dog and him talked. After all, the divine pond of absolute beginning was in the control of Sir God Mad Dog. The conditions that he had to fulfill and the price he had to pay to enter divine pond of absolute beginning would be determined by Sir God Luo Sha. An ancient green spaceship traveled at fast speed in the void. The speed was terrifyingly fast. Jianghu Shuang and Sir God Mad Dog were on the spaceship. They dined and chatted. Occasionally Jianghu Shuang would absorb some demon cores. 60 years later, the green spaceship arrived at a remote dark void. In the dark void, there were layers of prohibition and vast fog. The spacetime was unique too. Unless one knew the background of the void, there wouldn't be anyone who would barge into the void. In the middle of the dark void, there was a piece of floating land. The size of the land wasn't big, it was only about 100,000 miles including mountains and rivers. The scenery was like a painting, was like land of peach blossom. This is where Sir God Luo Sha resides? Jianghu Shuang looked at the piece of floating land. This is so secretive. Humph, Sir God Luo Sha is eccentric and unsociable. Although she is one of the members of Sanctuary Alliance, she almost never visits Thunderbolt Island and she hardly gets in contact with the experts from Sanctuary Alliance. There are even many experts that didn't know of her existence. She has been living in seclusion. There are less than 10 people from the entire Sanctuary Alliance who know her residence place, Sir God Mad Dog said. In Sanctuary Alliance, there should be quite a few experts who live in seclusion like Sir God Luo Sha, right? Jianghu Shuang asked curiously. There are some and there are quite a few of them, Sir God Mad Dog said. Jianghu Shuang raised his eyebrows but he wasn't surprised. At that moment, in the middle of the prohibition surrounding the piece of land in front of them, there was a space tunnel that appeared from nowhere. It was obvious that Sir God Luo Sha had known that they were arriving long ago. Come on, let's head in. Sir God Mad Dog led the way and entered the space tunnel together with Jianghu Shuang. In the scroll painting-like world on the piece of floating land, there was a simple bamboo house. Before the bamboo house there was a stone table. Then, there was a silver-haired old lady in a simple robe sitting as she weaved a bamboo basket. Old witch, long time no see, Sir God Mad Dog was casual in his manner. He came before the bamboo house and sat down on the stone stool right opposition the silver-haired old lady as Jianghu Shuang stood next to him. Hearing Sir God Mad Dog's greetings, Sir God Luo Sha wasn't angry. Old Mad Dog, you don't look for food but came to my place, what for? I don't have anything for you to eat here. Haha, I know you don't have anything delicious. I don't even bother to come and look for you, Sir God Mad Dog replied casually. Oh. Sir God Luo Sha was surprised. Then she turned to look at Jianghu Shuang. This is? Jianghu Shuang. Greetings, Sir God Luo Sha. Jianghu Shuang bowed politely. Jianghu Shuang. Sir God Luo Sha looked calm. I have not kept in touch with the outside world for very long and I have never heard of your name. Let me ask around. Sir God Luo Sha took out a token and sent a message to ask. In a short while she received information about Jian Wushuang. I see. You're from lineage of Star and you're in the first place on Real God ranking list. You are quite famous. Sir God Luosha looked surprised. Then she asked, I wonder what's the purpose of your visit today? I am coming for the divine pond of absolute beginning. Jian Wushuang didn't beat around the bush. Sir God Luosha wasn't surprised and she continued to weave her bamboo basket while she said calmly, as Mad Dog has brought you here, he should have told you some stories. Do you think that after what happened with Real God Wu Bei, I would let you, an inverse cultivator, enter divine pond of absolute beginning? Sir God Luosha, in this world no matter what the incident is, there is space for negotiation. Divine pond of absolute beginning will be really extremely helpful to me, but I have no idea what price I have to pay in order to enter and absorb power of absolute beginning to my heart's content. Jian Wushuang said solemnly. The last time Real God Wu Bei entered he stayed there for 8 years. I had to chase him out by force. If I hadn't, even if he had stayed there for 10 years, the divine power in his body might not have reached his limit. An inverse cultivator absorbing 10 years' worth of divine power wantonly, just how extensive would be the amount of power of absolute beginning absorbed? You can't afford the price. Sir God Luosha said. Sir God Luosha, if you don't make it clear, how will I know if I can afford it? Jian Wushuang said. Hehe, you're so stubborn. I'll be straightforward with you then. I heard that lineage of Star has got a white blaze fruit tree? Sir God Luosha looked at him. Yes, Jian Wushuang nodded. The white blaze fruit tree was what he had gotten. That's simple. If you have the ability to give the white blaze fruit tree that you gave lineage of Star to me, I will let you stay in divine pond of absolute beginning for 10 years, Sir God Luosha said. What? Jian Wushuang looked strained. He had known since long ago that Sir God Luosha would ask for a huge price, but he had never expected it to be that huge. A white blaze fruit tree. One should know that the white blaze fruit tree was something that all forces cast greedy eyes over. Plus, even if he brought a white blaze fruit tree, he could only stay in divine pond of absolute beginning for 10 years. In 10 years, Jian Wushuang wasn't sure if he could accumulate ultimate divine power to his extreme limit. Chapter 1704, Sir God Luosha's Enmity. Chapter 1704, Sir God Luosha's Enmity. Although I was the one who got the white blaze fruit tree, it is extremely useful to lineage of Star. I can't exchange a white blaze fruit tree for an opportunity to enter divine pond of absolute beginning. Jian Wushuang squinted his eyes. Sir God Luosha, is there no other possibility? Another possibility? Yes, Sir God Luosha suddenly looked at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang, I read the information recorded on Real God ranking list. It is said that you once injured Sir God Shenlan. Yes, Jian Wushuang nodded. Sir God Shenlan is an almighty from Soaring Heaven King Palace. Why would he fight with you? Sir God Luosha asked. It was because, when I was wandering in the 8th lair, I killed one expert after another from Soaring Heaven King Palace. Jian Wushuang briefly shared his story of the 8th lair. Actually, many experts in Eternal Chaotic World knew about the story. However, as Sir God Luosha was secluded from the outside world, she never heard about it. He finished the story. In other words, Soaring Heaven King Palace suffered a great loss because of you? Sir God Luosha's eyes squinted. Yes, Jian Wushuang nodded again. I knew about this as well, Sir God Mad Dog spoke. Soaring Heaven King Palace has been barbaric and they never once suffered. But this time not only did they suffer a great loss, they were embarrassed. They even became a laughing stock in Eternal Chaotic World. This is because of Jian Wushuang. I see. Sir God Luosha looked at Jian Wushuang again, but her gaze was different than before. Jian Wushuang, you can enter divine pond of absolute beginning and you can stay however long you want, Sir God Luosha said. Huh. Jian Wushuang was thrilled with excitement. And the price is? There's no price required. You can just enter. If there's only one condition, it's that after you increase your power, you'll kill that bastard Ling Yun on my behalf. Sir God Luosha bellowed as murderous intention soared in her eyes. Bastard Ling Yun? Jian Wushuang was stunned. He didn't even know who he was. Jian Wushuang, that bastard Ling Yun that Sir God Luosha was talking about, is the founder of Soaring Heaven King Palace, Emperor God Ling Yun. Soaring Heaven King Palace has 2 Emperor Gods. Emperor God Ling Yun is the oldest and also the strongest. Compared to Star Palace Master from lineage of Star, he should only be stronger, not weaker. Of course, if Star Palace Master were to perform the secret skill of Star Palace with his all, Emperor God Ling Yun could only run away hastily, Sir God Mad Dog said. Sir God Mad Dog was talking to Jian Wushuang via communication token. Then Sir God Luo Sha didn't know what they were talking about. Judging from Sir God Luo Sha's look, the rumor should be real, Sir God Mad Dog sighed emotionally. Rumor? What rumor? Jian Wushuang asked. A rumor said that Sir God Luo Sha once had a loving husband, who was also a Sir God expert. The two of them were like a celestial couple. But then, somehow or other, her husband was killed by Emperor God Ling Yun. Sir God Luo Sha wanted to take revenge on Soaring Heaven King Palace badly once because of that. However, she was alone. She couldn't cause such a major force like Soaring Heaven King Palace to move, Sir God Mad Dog said. This happened long ago. Plus, Sir God Luo Sha never brought it up herself, so I didn't know if it was true or false. But from what it seems, it should be true. Jian Wushuang, you're lucky. Sir God Mad Dog teased. Jian Wushuang smiled. That was true. He couldn't pay the price that Sir God Luo Sha wanted. He thought he was predestined not to cross paths with Divine Pond of Absolute Beginning, but who knew Sir God Luo Sha harbored such deep hatred against Soaring Heaven King Palace. Jian Wushuang had happened to fight against Soaring Heaven King Palace head-on, which had made them suffer great losses and became a laughing stock. It simply meant that he had vented Sir God Luo Sha's grievance. Jian Wushuang, Sir God Luo Sha looked at Jian Wushuang, you made Soaring Heaven King Palace suffer a great loss and they definitely won't let it slip. Back then, my husband merely taught the disciple of Soaring Heaven King Palace a lesson as he couldn't stand their barbaric behavior, then bastard Ling Yun took action personally to kill my husband. My husband was naturally gifted. If it wasn't because of bastard Ling Yun, he would have become an emperor by now. You, in terms of potential, are not inferior to my husband. Soaring Heaven King Palace won't let you continue to grow. They definitely won't. So, show no mercy, don't win by luck or think that you might be able to resolve the resentment with Soaring Heaven King Palace. It is impossible, definitely impossible. What you need to do is to destroy Soaring Heaven King Palace entirely and kill all of them. Then you can live in this world in peace. Jian Wushuang's face grew solemn. He knew that Sir God Luo Sha was speaking the truth. Soaring Heaven King Palace definitely wouldn't let it go. Between him and Soaring Heaven King Palace, there wasn't any possibility to resolve resentment. Soaring Heaven King Palace would definitely stop at nothing until he died. After quite some time, Sir God Luo Sha finally calmed down. Excuse me. Sorry that I lost control. Sir God Luo Sha's face became cold. Jian Wushuang, follow me. Sir God Luo Sha led Jian Wushuang and Sir God Mad Dog to the void at the back. Very soon, the three of them arrived at the core of the piece of floating land. It was covered within a prohibition and they could faintly see a pond. The pond wasn't huge in size, but it looked rather deep. Jian Wushuang heard from Hall Master Gu Xn back in Lineage of Star that Divine Pond of Absolute Beginning was 999,900 zhang deep. That is Divine Pond of Absolute Beginning. You can enter directly. But remember, you must only absorb the power of Absolute Beginning. Don't touch or move the special prohibition or formation in the Divine Pond. The formation is extremely important to the Divine Pond. Once it's moved, the consequences will be disastrous, Sir God Luo Sha exhorted. I understand. Thank you, Sir God Luo Sha, Jian Wushuang thanked her. Go ahead, Sir God Luo Sha waved her hand. Jian Wushuang didn't hesitate and took a stride forward and plunged towards the Divine Pond. He arrived at the pond very soon. Old Witch, you were quite generous this time. You let Jian Wushuang absorb the power of Absolute Beginning in Divine Pond of Absolute Beginning to his heart's content. He is an inverse cultivator. Aren't you afraid that he will finish up the power of Absolute Beginning? Sir God Mad Dog smiled. Humph, my Divine Pond of Absolute Beginning isn't as simple as you think it is. So what if he is an inverse cultivator? As long as he is capable, go ahead and absorb it. If he were to have the capability to absorb 1/100th of the Divine Pond, I'd think he was impressive, Sir God Luo Sha sneered. Plus, this young man embarrassed Soaring Heaven King Palace. Forget about the 100th power of Absolute Beginning. Even if he took away 1/10th power of Absolute Beginning, I'd let him in. Because I am happy. Chapter 1705, Power of Absolute Beginning. Chapter 1705, Power of Absolute Beginning. Within the Divine Pond of Absolute Beginning, white pond water was flowing about. Jian Wushuang was inside the Divine Pond of Absolute Beginning and only his head was left on top of the water. This is the power of absolute beginning? Jian Wushuang felt the white pond water, thoroughly. It was pure and it did not have any impurities. It's too pure. Its power is even purer and in a greater amount than the demon core's power. Jian Wushuang was surprised. Hallmaster Guoxian was right. The power of absolute beginning had to be the purest power in the eternal chaotic world. For such a power, not only could it be absorbed and changed into divine power, it also contained shocking recovery powers. It was no wonder that a dying emperor god had recovered to his peak after staying in the divine pond for 3 years. Let's try it. Jian Wushuang attempted to absorb the power of absolute beginning at once. As he absorbed, the white pond water around him entered his body slowly. After that, with the heavenly creation skill active, the pond water started to transform. After just a short amount of time, a small bit of ultimate divine power, which was transformed from the power of absolute beginning, was formed. This speed of transformation, it's a lot faster than when I absorbed the demon cores. Moreover, in terms of quality, it is a lot better. The ultimate divine power that has been transformed from the power of absolute beginning that I have absorbed for this period of time is probably slightly higher than the amount I would get from absorbing a grade 3 demon core. Jian Wushuang opened his eyes wide and they were filled with delight. Let's begin. Jian Wushuang did not hesitate and he made the best use of his time immediately to start absorbing and transforming the power of absolute beginning in the divine pond. As he absorbed, the ultimate divine power in his body continued to increase. After that, the 11th droplet of ultimate divine power started to precipitate slowly. In just 3 days' time, the 11th ultimate divine power water droplet was precipitated. It's too fast. It has only been 3 days. Jian Wushuang was over the moon. It should be known that if he had continued to rely on absorbing the demon cores, it would be unknown how many demon cores and how much time he would need to precipitate the 11th droplet of the ultimate divine power. However, in the divine pond of absolute beginning he only took 3 days. Let's continue. With a frenzy of delight, Jian Wushuang immersed himself completely into absorbing the power of absolute beginning. Time passed by slowly. In front of the bamboo house, Sir God Luo Sha and Sir God Mad Dog were sitting opposite each other just like before. 10 years has already passed. However, Jian Wushuang still has not come out of the divine pond of absolute beginning. In 10 years' time, I wonder how much power of absolute beginning he has absorbed. Old witch, doesn't your heart ache at all? Sir God Mad Dog laughed. Do you think that I am you? Sir God Luo Sha shot a glance toward Sir God Mad Dog. The divine power that an inverse cultivator needs has indeed exceeded my expectations. Hee hee, Sir God Mad Dog laughed strangely. After that he flipped his hands and took out 2 white blaze fruits. He gave one of them to Sir God Luo Sha. This is a white blaze fruit? Sir God Luo Sha revealed a surprised expression. Old witch, don't say that I am reluctant. I only have a total of 2 white blaze fruits and they were given to me by Jian Wushuang. Now I'm giving one of them to you. Aren't I being a good person? Sir God Mad Dog laughed strangely. Sir God Luo Sha did not stand on ceremony and put the white blaze fruit into her Chen Kuan ring right away. As for Sir God Mad Dog, he held the white blaze fruit in his hands and started to eat it with huge bites. He looked like he was enjoying it. It's really a waste for the white blaze fruit to be in your hands, Sir God Luo Sha curled her lips. At the same time as these 2 Sir Gods were having a conversation. Outside the black void, a giant spaceship from the outside world was traveling slowly. In the spaceship, there were 4 figures and they were looking forward at the black void which was filled with dense fog. Among the 4 of them, the person at the front was a handsome young man who wore a luxurious purple long robe as well as a heartrending smile. That Sir God Luo Sha lives here? Aha, it's really a very remote location. It's indeed remote. A cold and gloomy old man who was beside him laughed. If your Highness doesn't know, Sir God Luo Sha is an unsociable and eccentric person. Ever since her husband died, she hid herself from the world and she did not have any contact with the outside world. Even within the Sanctuary Alliance, there is probably less than 10 people who know where she lives. We have also spent a lot of effort and time to find this place. Oh, is that so? The handsome man raised the corners of his mouth and his smile became even more obvious. If Jian Wushuang were present, he would definitely be extremely furious when he saw the handsome young man. As he was the person who was with Lung Ruxue in the Blood Demon Church back then. His Highness Mu Hong. Back then, when Jian Wushuang had been fighting with His Highness Mu Hong head-on, he had come across the inverse cultivation test for the 3rd heaven abruptly. In the end he was trampled on by His Highness Mu Hong. How are the abilities of Sir God Luo Sha? His Highness Mu Hong questioned. She's very strong. Out of the Sir Gods she should be at the top level. However, with our lineup it will be easy to kill her. The cold and gloomy old man answered. For our mission this time around, killing Sir God Luo Sha is secondary. The most important thing is that divine pond of absolute beginning. The 7th Palace Master has instructed us that we must get the divine pond of absolute beginning at all costs. Even if we are unable to get it, we absolutely have to destroy it. If not, when a great battle breaks out in the future, the divine pond of absolute beginning will give two mad benefits to the Sanctuary Alliance. The cold and gloomy old man was certain about how impressive the divine pond of absolute beginning was. A dying emperor god could recover to his peak after being in the divine pond of absolute beginning for 3 years. If Sir God Luo Sha were to use it without caring about anything else, the power of absolute beginning that had accumulated in the divine pond of absolute beginning could absolutely provide many almighties with divine power and also heal their injuries continuously. When the divine pond of absolute beginning had just formed, the higher-ups of the Sanctuary Alliance wanted to place it in the Thunderbolt Island. However, the divine pond of absolute beginning had long been like a treasure of Sir God Luo Sha and it was completely under her control. Without her consent, even the Sanctuary Alliance was unable to snatch it away with force. As such, they could only discuss some conditions with her. However, the condition that Sir God Luo Sha brought up was to kill Emperor God Ling Yun and destroy the Soaring Heaven King Palace. However, she was rejected by the Sanctuary Alliance. Therefore, in a fit of fury, Sir God Luo Sha brought the divine pond of absolute beginning along with her and left the Sanctuary Alliance. Since then she has kept herself hidden from the world and has not come out. As such, the Sanctuary Alliance cannot do anything to her. However, it is fortunate that she possesses the divine pond of absolute beginning as this has given us an opportunity. If it were in the Thunderbolt Island, there would be nothing that we could do, the cold and gloomy old man laughed. Humph. Since the Sanctuary Alliance cannot control Sir God Luo Sha, we shall be the ones to do it. His Highness Mu Hong laughed coldly. Let's charge in directly. With the order of His Highness Mu Hong, the ancient spaceship immediately charged forward into the black void, which was covered by a seal. It also moved at a shocking speed and headed toward the center of the dark void where a floating land was. Atop the piece of floating land, the expressions of Sir God Mad Dog and Sir God Luo Sha, who were originally having a conversation, changed abruptly. Chapter 1706, Sudden Change. Chapter 1706, Sudden Change. Someone barged in. There was a chilly gleam in Sir God Luo Sha's eyes. What? Sir God Mad Dog looked over with a surprised look. I set up a prohibition in the void. Even if there were to be someone who came to visit me, they would normally wait outside the prohibition and only enter after they received my permission. However, the people who came didn't receive my permission, Sir God Luo Sha said. Hong. There was a loud explosion in the nearby void. At the same time, there was a fierce divine aura that spread. Damn it. They already started to attack the prohibition. Although the prohibition that I've set up is not too shabby, a Sir God could forcefully break it if he were to hit it with all his power. Among the people who came, there is obviously someone who is good at formations. Sir God Luo Sha's voice was deep. In a short time, the prohibition that surrounded the floating land collapsed by force. Ha, Sir God Luo Sha, you have been living the life all these years. There was a burst of hearty laughter. Then there were 4 figures who plunged over. The 4 of them let out powerful auras and they were already at Sir God level. 4 Sir Gods. Sir God Luo Sha's face grew grave. I have never seen the 4 Sir Gods in Sanctuary Alliance before. They are definitely not from Sanctuary Alliance. They are either from Holocaust Sect or Acheron Palace. Sir God Mad Dog's gaze grew cold. In Eternal Chaotic World, Sanctuary Alliance was an absolute overlord, the supreme. There was no doubt about that. However, although Sanctuary Alliance was strong, there was a hidden enemy. Star Demon Clan in the 8th lair was just one of them. Plus, Star Demon Clan had only stayed within the 8th lair. As long as the number of Star Demon didn't reach a limit, they almost never would leave the 8th lair. Besides Star Demon's clan, there were many hidden forces that could pose a threat to Sanctuary Alliance. These hidden forces moved around the 10 sanctuaries. They moved within Eternal Chaotic World. Among the hidden forces, Holocaust Sect and Acheron Palace were the strongest. Holocaust Sect frequently massacred large numbers of cultivators for their own benefit. They would even massacre to the extent of a world or even a holy kingdom. They were definitely one of the most vicious forces. They were also the public enemy of all cultivators. As for Acheron Palace, they were the most treacherous and the most well-hidden force. They did not take action recklessly, but once they took action, the person who they were aiming at had almost zero possibility of staying alive. There were countless experts in Sanctuary Alliance who had died at the hands of Acheron Palace. Back when Hall Master Yuan had told Jian Wushuang to be careful of the hidden forces, he was mainly warning him about Acheron Palace. A genius like Jian Wushuang, Acheron Palace normally wouldn't let him live for too long. They are here for Divine Pond of Absolute Beginning, Sir God Luosha instantly understood. Old Mad Dog, I'm afraid I'll have to drag you in for this. Don't mention it. No matter if they are from Holocaust sect of Acheron Palace, they are enemies of Sanctuary Alliance, and public enemies of countless cultivators in Eternal Chaotic World. Although I am casual in manner most of the time, I do understand this principle, Sir God Mad Dog said in a low voice. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. The four figures appeared in the void not far away, and they stood side by side but didn't launch attacks in the first instant. I never thought Mad Dog would be here as well. A treacherous elderly among the four of them squinted his eyes. Mad Dog isn't weak in power, and he definitely won't just sit and watch. He teams up with Sir God Luosha. It will be much more troublesome to deal with them. God Chi, God Ba, the two of you teamed up with me to fight against Sir God Luosha and this Mad Dog. Your Highness Mu Hong, we will have to trouble you for Divine Pond of Absolute Beginning. No problem, Highness Mu Hong smiled and nodded. I originally thought if there was only Sir God Luosha alone, I'd like to fight with her and have some training. As they are in a team of two. In order to save time, I shall not join the fight. Your Highness Mu Hong, if you want to train, there will be many opportunities in the future, the treacherous elderly smiled. Oh yeah, when Your Highness Mu Hong arrives at Divine Pond of Absolute Beginning, it's best if you first check if there are other experts in Divine Pond of Absolute Beginning just in case. If there is, Your Highness Mu Hong, please instantly leave. If there isn't, please go according to our plan. Haha, don't worry. I'm not stupid. If there is a powerful Sir God or Emperor God absorbing power of Absolute Beginning in Divine Pond of Absolute Beginning, I won't attack hastily, His Highness Mu Hong scoffed. Sir God Luosha controlled the Divine Pond of Absolute Beginning long ago. If we want it, we definitely can't kill Sir God Luosha and have to catch her alive. As for the Mad Dog, we can kill him straight away. The treacherous elderly looked at his other two teammates. God Chi, God Ba, let's do this. Hong. The four Sir God experts moved at the same time. Among the four of them, there were three that instantly gave out fierce Sir God aura and their power pressed to all directions. Then they pounded Sir God Luosha and Sir God Mad Dog like lightning. As for His Highness Mu Hong, he instantly flew in the direction where Divine Pond of Absolute Beginning was located. As the four Sir Gods moved, Sir God Luosha and Sir God Mad Dog moved as well. There was an extra pair of black gloves on Sir God Mad Dog's hand while the boundless Sir God aura soared up from his body. The aura was tainted with an angry rage. Wow. Sir God Mad Dog's body turned illusory. He originally was one figure, then he instantly became three figures. Just like three flowing lights, they burst out instantly and the three flowing lights waved their sharp claws simultaneously. There were three figures that performed at the same time, but they immediately merged together when the sharp claws flashed. Walalala. The void was torn into pieces instantly. Sir God Luosha wielded a green soft sword and she was engulfed in a cloud of mist. The cloud of mist flew before her opponents and then the sword light flowed out. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. One sword light suddenly swept out after another. Every single stroke of sword light carried a billowing hatred. Hate, hate, hate. With extreme hatred. She looked as though she wanted to break their bones and scatter their ashes to the winds. Ha, old Mad Dog, I knew long ago that you had comprehended a power superposition skill. Now that I see it with my own eyes, you live up to the name. It's a pity that you are going to die in the end. The treacherous elderly, God Chi and God Ba, the three Sir God experts immediately greeted them by displaying their powerful skills. Their powers as Sir God experts were given full play by then. The five Sir Gods were fighting vigorously. However, although Sir God Luosha and Sir God Mad Dog were powerful, it was already pushing their limits for the two of them to hold back three Sir Gods. As for His Highness Mu Hong, who was going to Divine Pond of Absolute Beginning, they couldn't do anything about it. Sir God Mad Dog had sent a message to Jian Wushuang long ago. Jian Wushuang, something happened. Hurry up and come out. Chapter 1707, Meeting His Highness Mu Hong again. Chapter 1707, Meeting His Highness Mu Hong again. While being shrouded by the infinite amount of pond water, in the divine pond of absolute beginning, Jian Wushuang had closed both his eyes and was still doing his best to absorb the power of absolute beginning. The amount of divine power that an inverse cultivator needed to accumulate in the stage of real God had indeed exceeded Jian Wushuang's expectations. For the 100 droplets of ultimate divine power, with the more progress he had made, the harder it would be to precipitate the droplets at the back. Luckily, he was inside the divine pond of absolute beginning. If he had relied purely on absorbing the pure power of the demon cores or relied on his own training to accumulate, he could not imagine the amount of time he would take. To date, 10 years had passed. However, he was still quite far away from the maximum amount of ultimate divine power he could possess in his body. Gurgled, the power of absolute beginning was flowing about and it entered Jian Wushuang's body continuously. At present, the 88th ultimate divine power water droplet was precipitating slowly in Jian Wushuang's body. It's the 88th droplet. Jian Wushuang was filled with immeasurable joy. 88 droplets was only 12 droplets away from 100 droplets. Hence it was already very close. If nothing goes wrong in 2 or 3 years' time, my ultimate divine power can achieve its peak. At that time I will be able to make a breakthrough to stage 3 ultimate real God, Jian Wushuang thought to himself. Just then Sir God Mad Dog sent a message over to him. Jian Wushuang, something has happened. Come out quickly. Jian Wushuang opened his eyes fiercely. Sir God Mad Dog knew that he was training in the divine pond of absolute beginning. If there was nothing that was extremely urgent, he would definitely not disturb him. However, since Sir God Mad Dog had sent a message over, something big had definitely occurred. Swoosh! Jian Wushuang came out of the divine pond of absolute beginning immediately. However, when he appeared at the top of the void, he saw a figure that was speeding over from afar. Upon seeing the figure, Jian Wushuang was first stunned. After that, his eyes became filled with a great amount of murderous intent right away. His Highness Mu Hong, who Jian Wushuang was staring at, naturally saw Jian Wushuang as well. It's him? Haha, enemies are really bound to meet each other. His Highness Mu Hong raised his eyebrows. After that, he continued to move toward Jian Wushuang. At the start, when he saw that there was someone beside the divine pond of absolute beginning, he was shocked. However, when he was sure that the person was Jian Wushuang, he stopped having any worries. After all, Jian Wushuang was merely his defeated opponent. In the void, His Highness Mu Hong had already appeared in front of Jian Wushuang and he had stopped moving. He Jian Wushuang, we meet again. His Highness Mu Hong looked at Jian Wushuang coldly and his eyes were filled with disdain. Jian Wushuang did not speak. However, his face was ice cold. The Blood Mountain sword then appeared on his hands and a great amount of murderous intent rose from his body slowly. What? You still wish to fight with me? His Highness Mu Hong sneered. Seems like I did not trample on you for long enough back then. It's a pity that an unforeseen event occurred back then and you got away. However, this time round you will not be so lucky. Let me ask you, where is Lung Rushua? Jian Wushuang spoke abruptly. His Highness Mu Hong was stunned. After that, his face became distorted and he spoke. Damn it. Is Lunger's name something trash like you can call out? Where is she? If you refuse to say, I will kill you. Jian Wushuang's voice sounded as though it came from an abysmal hell. Moreover, his body was also approached His Highness Mu Hong slowly. For every step he took, the god power and murderous intent on his body would be stronger. At the start, His Highness Mu Hong did not care about Jian Wushuang at all. However, as Jian Wushuang walked toward him step by step, especially with that huge pressure that was exerted on him such that he was actually suffocating slightly, he started to feel fearful. You are just a piece of trash. Since you have been trampled by me at another time, it will also be the same this time round. His Highness Mu Hong glowed with a shrill light and he released his aura of a Sir God immediately. A green sickle also appeared in his hands. His body then turned vague and layers upon layers of green shadows burst forth at once. As for Jian Wushuang, he just looked on coldly as His Highness Mu Hong attacked him. When he had come across His Highness Mu Hong in the Blood Demon Church the other time, he had merely been a universe god of the second heaven. As for His Highness Mu Hong, he had already made a breakthrough to become a void real god. At that time, when they had come across each other again, Jian Wushuang was a stage 2 ultimate real god, while his Highness Mu Hong, for whatever reason, had somehow made a breakthrough to Sir God, and he had entered the ranks of the Sir Gods. It was a similar encounter and a similar gap in terms of realm. However, the different thing was that the inverse cultivation test would no longer descend abruptly for Jian Wushuang. Trash, go to hell? His Highness Mu Hong's murderous intent burst forth, and an infinite amount of green light appeared from his body. The green light then gathered around his body and changed into a gigantic green god. After that, His Highness Mu Hong swung the green sickle in his hands fiercely. At once, a brilliant green sickle river materialized. During the process, the green sickle river expanded at a shocking speed, and it covered the whole universe in the end. The frightening sickle essence that the sickle river contained also seemed to be able to tear everything in the universe apart. Jian Wushuang took a step forward and raised the Blood Mountain sword in his hands abruptly. His vast amount of divine power was then poured into the long sword without any restraint. In the void, crimson sword shadows appeared out of thin air, and every one of them was so strong that it was shocking. Moreover, there was a total of 61 of them. The 61 crimson sword shadows then superimposed onto one another and fused. With that, a destructive power spread across the area. Swish! The crimson sword shadow was swung out straight away. It then split the space, time, and heaven. The brilliant sickle river which was in front of Jian Wushuang was destroyed instantly, and the shocking sword essence continued to wreak havoc by tearing open many holes that were tens of thousands of miles big in the surrounding void. The whole universe was submerged by the shocking sword essence. Swoosh! A figure retreated quickly from the void that the sword essence shrouded. It was His Highness Mu Hong. However, when His Highness Mu Hong just regained his posture, he saw that the void in front of him had collapsed abruptly. After that, an ancient giant finger which contained an earth-shaking power pointed toward him right away. Ancient God's sixth finger, Sun Corrosion. Since Jian Wushuang had already precipitated a total of 88 ultimate divine power water droplets in his body, the amount of divine power in his body was a lot greater than that in the Almighty's. With such a huge amount of divine power, Jian Wushuang was absolutely not worried about its depletion. As such, he could unleash many strong moves and unique skills without the slightest scruple. Break! With a cry, the green god which covered His Highness Mu Hong gave an extremely loud roar. After that, with a violent swing of the sickle on His Highness Mu Hong's hands, fierce winds sprang up and changed into a sickle shadow storm which covered an enormous area. The sickle shadow storm struck the ancient giant finger, and both of them turned into dust. However, just then, swish! A ray of golden light which was dragging its long golden tail like a comet headed toward His Highness Mu Hong quietly. What? His Highness Mu Hong was shocked. It was obvious that the ray of golden light had appeared too abruptly. Chapter 1704, Sir God Luo Sha's Enmity. Chapter 1704, Sir God Luo Sha's Enmity. Although I was the one who got the white blaze fruit tree, it is extremely useful to lineage of star. I can't exchange a white blaze fruit tree for an opportunity to enter divine pond of absolute beginning. Jian Wushuang squinted his eyes. Sir God Luo Sha, is there no other possibility? Another possibility? Yes. Sir God Luo Sha suddenly looked at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang, I read the information recorded on Real God ranking list. It is said that you once injured Sir God Qianlan. Yes, Jian Wushuang nodded. Sir God Qianlan is an almighty from Soaring Heaven King Palace. Why would he fight with you? Sir God Luo Sha asked. It was because, when I was wandering in the 8th lair, I killed one expert after another from Soaring Heaven King Palace. Jian Wushuang briefly shared his story of the 8th lair. Actually, many experts in Eternal Chaotic World knew about the story. However, as Sir God Luo Sha was secluded from the outside world, she never heard about it. He finished the story. In other words, Soaring Heaven King Palace suffered a great loss because of you? Sir God Luo Sha's eyes squinted. Yes, Jian Wushuang nodded again. I knew about this as well, Sir God Mad Dog spoke. Soaring Heaven King Palace has been barbaric and they never once suffered. But this time not only did they suffer a great loss, they were embarrassed. They even became a laughing stock in Eternal Chaotic World. This is because of Jian Wushuang. I see. Sir God Luo Sha looked at Jian Wushuang again, but her gaze was different than before. Jian Wushuang, you can enter Divine Pond of Absolute Beginning and you can stay however long you want, Sir God Luo Sha said. Huh. Jian Wushuang was thrilled with excitement. And the price is? There's no price required. You can just enter. If there's only one condition, it's that after you increase your power, you'll kill that bastard Ling Yun on my behalf. Sir God Luo Sha bellowed as murderous intention soared in her eyes. Bastard Ling Yun? Jian Wushuang was stunned. He didn't even know who he was. Jian Wushuang, that bastard Ling Yun that Sir God Luo Sha was talking about, is the founder of Soaring Heaven King Palace, Emperor God Ling Yun. Soaring Heaven King Palace has 2 Emperor Gods. Emperor God Ling Yun is the oldest and also the strongest. Compared to Star Palace Master from lineage of Star, he should only be stronger, not weaker. Of course, if Star Palace Master were to perform the secret skill of Star Palace with his all, Emperor God Ling Yun could only run away hastily, Sir God Mad Dog said. Sir God Mad Dog was talking to Jian Wushuang via communication token. Then Sir God Luo Sha didn't know what they were talking about. Judging from Sir God Luo Sha's look, the rumor should be real, Sir God Mad Dog sighed emotionally. Rumor? What rumor? Jian Wushuang asked. A rumor said that Sir God Luo Sha once had a loving husband, who was also a Sir God expert. The two of them were like a celestial couple. But then, somehow or other, her husband was killed by Emperor God Ling Yun. Sir God Luo Sha wanted to take revenge on Soaring Heaven King Palace badly once because of that. However, she was alone. She couldn't cause such a major force like Soaring Heaven King Palace to move, Sir God Mad Dog said. This happened long ago. Plus, Sir God Luo Sha never brought it up herself, so I didn't know if it was true or false. But from what it seems, it should be true. Jian Wushuang, you're lucky. Sir God Mad Dog teased. Jian Wushuang smiled. That was true. He couldn't pay the price that Sir God Luo Sha wanted. He thought he was predestined not to cross paths with Divine Pond of Absolute Beginning, but who knew Sir God Luo Sha harbored such deep hatred against Soaring Heaven King Palace. Jian Wushuang had happened to fight against Soaring Heaven King Palace head-on, which had made them suffer great losses and became a laughing stock. It simply meant that he had vented Sir God Luo Sha's grievance. Jian Wushuang, Sir God Luo Sha looked at Jian Wushuang, you made Soaring Heaven King Palace suffer a great loss and they definitely won't let it slip. He had almost no chance to counterattack. Plus, the golden light hit him repeatedly and every hit caused enormous power that shook the divine body. From the continuous hits he was already injured. If it persisted he would be killed by Jian Wushuang. If he is here, it'll be impossible for me to get the Divine Pond of Absolute Beginning. As I can't get it, I can only forcibly destroy it. There was a chilly gleam in His Highness Muhang's eyes. He flipped his hand and there were 2 pearls covered in faint black thunder in his hand. His father passed him the 2 pearls. They were specially prepared for the mission that day. Its name was God-Destroying. His father exhorted that if they couldn't take the Divine Pond of Absolute Beginning, he should use the 2 God-Destroying pearls to destroy the Divine Pond of Absolute Beginning. They couldn't get it and they couldn't let the Divine Pond of Absolute Beginning fall into the hands of Sanctuary Alliance. God-Destroying Pearl is powerful. One should be enough to destroy the Divine Pond of Absolute Beginning. As for the remaining one, the boundless murderous intention shimmered in His Highness Muhang's eyes as he looked at Jian Wushuang directly. He slashed with his green sickle and shot the golden light aiming at him. He retreated, but it happened to be where Jian Wushuang was. Jian Wushuang die. Then, His Highness Muhang extended his palm and 2 black lights burst out at the same time. The 2 black lights, one went towards the Divine Pond of Absolute Beginning while the other one aimed at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang's eyes fixed. The moment the black light aimed at him, he had already realized something wasn't right, especially as the pearl was letting out faint black thunder. He sensed an extremely terrifying power. The power struck fear into him. Back off. Without hesitation, Jian Wushuang retreated swiftly. As he retreated, he pointed with his finger and there was sword light that struck the God-Destroying Pearl like lightning. The God-Destroying Pearl was far away from Jian Wushuang and His Highness Muhang intended to throw it before Jian Wushuang. But then, as the sword light hit it, it instantly exploded. Honk, honk. 2 vigorous explosions roared simultaneously. The noise shook heaven and earth. The power that it brought about could shock every living thing in the universe. Jian Wushuang had already fallen back to somewhere far away and the explosion of God-Destroying Pearl didn't affect him. However, whatever happened before his eyes was daunting to him. He knew clearly that he was lucky to escape the explosions of the 2 pearls. Otherwise, even if he wasn't dead, he would be in a miserable condition. Jian Wushuang's face suddenly changed and he looked at the Divine Pond of Absolute Beginning. The earlier 2 pearls, one went towards the divine pond of absolute beginning and exploded directly. From the explosion of the pearl, the divine pond of absolute beginning became too horrible to look at. Chapter 1709, Kill. Chapter 1709, Kill. Damn it. Upon seeing that more than half of the divine pond of absolute beginning had disappeared due to the attack from the god-destroying pearl and that most of the prohibitions and formations had been destroyed as well, Jian Wushuang's expression turned unusually ugly. You deserve to die. Jian Wushuang was filled with murderous intent. All of a sudden, his body became 10 meters tall and the aura on his body became more than twice as strong. In the space between his eyebrows, there were 6 stars and he had impressive god power. Ancient god secret skill, thunder attracting skill. Boom. All of a sudden, a giant crack appeared in the quiet sky and a total of 9 giant sacred thunders descended from it. At the same time, the 2 Hongjun golden swords which were floating in the void trembled crazily and headed toward His Highness Mu Hong, one from the left and the other one from the right. Not good. This Jian Wushuang is actually not dead. His Highness Mu Hong's face was filled with fear. In particular, when he saw the 2 Hongjun golden swords which were heading toward him at the same time, he shook with terror. Run. Without any hesitation, His Highness Mu Hong did his best to escape straight away. As for the Sir God-level black battle puppet, he left it behind to block Jian Wushuang. The 9 sacred thunders that descended from the heavens were unable to be aimed at His Highness Mu Hong in time. As such, it could only attack the black battle puppet together with the 2 Hongjun golden swords. In just a short amount of time, the Sir God-level battle puppet was defeated. With a wave of Jian Wushuang's big hands, the damaged battle puppet was put into his Chen Kuan ring. It's impossible for you to run away. Jian Wushuang had an overwhelming amount of murderous intent. As he looked at His Highness Mu Hong who was still within his line of vision, his body turned vague and a great number of shadows appeared at the same time. With that, his speed achieved his peak instantly. Other than being struck with terror, His Highness Mu Hong was running away with all his might. After just an instant he had already escaped to the other battlefield. Save me, please save me quickly. Even though His Highness Mu Hong had just arrived at that battlefield, his mad cry for help had already spread. What? The 3 Sir Gods, the gloomy old man God Qi and God Ba were currently fighting an intense battle with Sir God Luosha and Sir God Mad Dog. Moreover, they were in a very advantageous position. However, after hearing the cries for help, the expressions of the 3 of them changed greatly at the same time. The gloomy old man gave up on dealing with Sir God Mad Dog immediately and headed for His Highness Mu Hong right away. Your Highness Mu Hong, what's wrong? The gloomy old man appeared beside His Highness Mu Hong. It's Jian Wushuang. He's hunting me down. His Highness Mu Hong roared repeatedly. The gloomy old man turned his head at once and just happened to see Jian Wushuang whose face was filled with murderous intent coming over. Jian Wushuang is actually here as well? The gloomy old man's expression turned grave and he asked straight away, Your Highness, what about the divine pond of absolute beginning? It has been destroyed, His Highness Mu Hong said. That's good. The gloomy old man heaved a sigh of relief. Although they did not manage to snatch the divine pond of absolute beginning away, their mission was considered complete since the divine pond of absolute beginning had been destroyed. We have completed our mission. Stop dealing with them and let's leave quickly, the gloomy old man gave a shrill cry. After that, the 2 Sir Gods, God Qi and God Ba, who were still in combat, retreated immediately. It's not that easy to escape. Sir God Luosha's face was filled with madness. At that time, her whole person was within the dense fog and the dense fog covered a great area of the universe. Moreover, the sword principles which contained a tremendous amount of extreme hatred burst forth repeatedly with the intention of keeping the Sir Gods in front back. All of you shall stay here. Similarly, Sir God Mad Dog unleashed an enormous amount of evil aura and he had already changed into an exotic beast. Moreover, the exotic beast was extremely gigantic. It was more than 100 feet tall and it had a total of 6 claws. Its frightening murderous intent also covered a humongous area and it was earth-shaking. Retreat quickly. The gloomy old man and the 3 remaining people absolutely did not have the intention of staying behind and dealing with him. After all, they were Sir God experts and there was a total of 4 of them. If they really wanted to escape, it would be difficult for Sir God Luosha and Sir God Mad Dog to keep them back. However, at that moment, all of you don't think that any of you can escape. All of a sudden, a voice which was filled with shocking murderous intent and anger resounded across the universe. It was Jian Wushuang who had arrived at the battlefield. His eyes were evil like an enraged ferocious beast, and he was staring at the four Sir Gods in front who were preparing to leave persistently. To be more exact, he was staring at His Highness Mu Hong. Anyone could leave. However, His Highness Mu Hong alone had to remain. Even if he could not be captured alive, he had to be killed. It was not just because of the fact that His Highness Mu Hong had destroyed the divine pond of absolute beginning. It was also not because of the fact that His Highness Mu Hong had trampled on him back then in the Blood Demon Church. Instead, it was because His Highness Mu Hong had actually called Ling Rushue Linger. What an intimate way of calling her. Perhaps the person who he had called was Ling Rushue, and it was unrelated to Ling Rushuang, who was Jian Wushuang's wife. Or perhaps Ling Rushue had never paid any attention to His Highness Mu Hong at all. However, His Highness Mu Hong obviously had the intention to get close to Ling Rushue. And the body that Ling Rushue possessed was the body of Ling Rushuang. Anyone who touched the forbidden lamella of a dragon had to die. Ling Rushue was his forbidden lamella. Ancient god secret skill. Moon-picking skill. Buzz. The void shook. All of a sudden, a peculiar power took effect on the void, and in a split second, rustle, the void collapsed into pieces at a speed that naked eyes could not perceive. At the same time, the power spread toward the four Sir Gods, His Highness Mu Hong, the gloomy old man, God Qi and God Ba. With that, the bodies of the four Sir Gods shook and their eyes revealed a bit of fear at the same time. At that moment, the whole universe, heaven, space and time headed toward the four of them with the intention of crushing them completely into fine powder. It was as if they were being repelled by the universe, space and time. It was as if they should not have existed in the world. It was too strange. Moreover, the most important thing was that it was impossible to block the attack. The frightening crushing power unleashed its effects straight away. Out of the four Sir Gods, His Highness Mu Hong was actually the weakest. After withstanding the repelling power for not long, he spit out a mouthful of blood right away. As for the remaining three of them, under the suppression of space and time, their expressions became a lot paler. However, just as the repelling power of space and time was about to dissipate, two brilliant rays of golden light lit up abruptly. The places that they lit up were beside His Highness Mu Hong. One was in front while the other one was behind him. Your Highness, please be careful. Upon realizing that, the gloomy old man warned him immediately. However, at such a close distance, even with a warning, it was already too late. His Highness Mu Hong had opened his eyes wide and he was looking at the rays of golden light in front of him, which were expanding in size continuously. He was totally unable to react and his mind was completely empty. That was the result of him growing up in a greenhouse. If it were a Sir God who had grown up in the face of terror, he might still be able to react upon seeing the two rays of golden light. At the very least, he would be able to unleash some defensive moves. However, His Highness Mu Hong was just a dimwit. At that moment he was completely stunned and he did not resist at all. Chapter 1710 Damaged. Chapter 1710, Damaged. Pust. There were two rays of golden light. One ray went through His Highness Mu Hong's chest and the other ray pierced through his head. The power contained in the golden light instantly exterminated His Highness Mu Hong's vigor. His Highness Mu Hong stood there like a silly man, but his consciousness had already dispersed. Looking at the sight, the treacherous elders, God Qi and God Ba's, faces grew pale. They knew clearly the identity of His Highness Mu Hong. They also knew of the terrifying existence behind his back. At first, the mission that day was merely for His Highness Mu Hong to have some experience. Because of him, they had even dispatched 3 Sir God experts to safeguard him. On top of that, His Highness Mu Hong had the war puppet too. There was in total 4 Sir Gods that safeguarded him, and His Highness Mu Hong was a Sir God himself. With such a formation, theoretically, there shouldn't be any accident. But in the end, His Highness Mu Hong had died. In front of them he was killed. How dare you? Jian Wushuang, just you wait. What happened today won't end so easily. For His Highness Mu Hong's death, someone will look for you and take revenge. The treacherous elderly's roar shook the earth while he brought His Highness Mu Hong's dead body with him and ran away with the other 2 Sir Gods. Jian Wushuang didn't continue to chase after them but watched them leave. The void finally quieted down again. Jian Wushuang, well done. Sir God Mad Dog's voice seemed a little surprised. Wushuang, very impressive, Sir God Luosha said. When the 4 Sir Gods had run away at the same time, although the 2 of them had tried their best, they couldn't make any one of them stay back. but Jian Wushuang had performed a great trick and killed one of them. The person seemed to be the most important person. Jian Wushuang shook his head when he heard what they said. It's a pity that my power is slightly weaker. If my comprehension towards any one of spacetime doctrine and reincarnation doctrine were to break through and pass the 7th level of Doctrine Palace, or if I were to break through and become a stage 3 ultimate real god, I could make all of them stay back. But it's good that I could make one stay. At least we didn't let all them retreat in a complete troop, Jian Wushuang thought to himself. Oh yeah, the divine pond of absolute beginning. Jian Wushuang suddenly spoke. Sir God Luosha's face changed and she immediately plunged in the direction where the divine pond of absolute beginning was located. Jian Wushuang and Sir God Mad Dog followed. When they were near to the divine pond of absolute beginning, Sir God Luosha's face grew pale but she immediately rushed into the divine pond. Jian Wushuang and Sir God Mad Dog stayed in the void above the divine pond as they overlooked the sight below. The two of them looked awful too. They could tell that the divine pond of absolute beginning was severely damaged. Not only was more than half of the pond gone, an enormous amount of the power of absolute beginning in the pond was vanishing into thin air as well. At that point, there was about 30% of the power gone and they continued to disperse. It's due to the formation, Sir God Mad Dog explained. I heard from Sir God Sha Luo before that the divine pond of absolute beginning developed and evolved from one drop of power of absolute beginning. The evolution of power of absolute beginning is carried out with a unique formation. However, a lot of the formations are damaged and even collapsed. The balance cycle of the divine pond of absolute beginning was interrupted. Not only did the evolvement slow, it was declining. If she doesn't repair the formation in time, the power of absolute beginning will evaporate. Jian Wushuang's face grew grave when he heard that. Very soon, Sir God Luo Sha plunged out of the divine pond. Sir God Luo Sha, how is it? Sir God Mad Dog asked closely. At such a crucial moment, he didn't have the mood to make a joke with Sir God Luo Sha and make fun of her by calling her old witch. A large amount of formations in the divine pond are damaged. Fortunately, the evolution formation merely shattered by half, so there's a possibility to recover it. The core of the divine pond isn't damaged either. I have temporarily steadied the divine pond so that the power of absolute power won't continue to evaporate. However, it is only for temporary. I have to immediately invite experts who are good at formations to come over to recover this, Sir God Luo Sha said. The damage is so severe? Sir God Mad Dog's voice was low. I have to take the blame, Jian Wushuang blamed himself. The Sir God that I killed was important to me because he most likely knows the whereabouts of my wife. That's why I didn't want to kill him at first and only wanted to capture him alive. But I didn't know. Jian Wushuang did feel very sorry. Sir God Luo Sha didn't need him to pay anything but let him absorb the power of absolute beginning in the divine pond of absolute beginning. However, due to an unexpected incident, his selfish thought had led to the divine pond of absolute beginning being very nearly ruined. One should know that if he were to kill His Highness Mu Hong right at the beginning with his skills, there wouldn't be a scene where the divine pond was damaged. I can understand your feelings. I don't blame you for what happened. Sir God Luo Sha shook her head. She was an emotional person herself. Her husband's death had driven her insane too. Jian Wushuang had also turned irrational because of his wife. Most importantly, Jian Wushuang had never thought His Highness Mu Hong would have two god-destroying pearls that were so powerful. When he responded, it was already too late. He could only take revenge on His Highness Mu Hong and kill him. Jian Wushuang, originally, you could stay as long as you wanted in this divine pond, even until your divine power reached the ultimate achievement. But now, the divine pond is damaged and I have to get someone to fix it immediately. So, for quite a long time, there won't be anyone who enters the divine pond. You will have to wait until the divine pond resumes its normal operation. In short, I can't let you continue to absorb the power of absolute beginning, Sir God Luo Sha said. I have gained a great harvest from the divine pond. I, Jian Wushuang, definitely won't forget your favor. As for the rest of the accumulation of divine power, I'll work hard on my own, Jian Wushuang said. Sir God Luo Sha nodded faintly. Oh yeah, you are so well hidden. Even in Sanctuary Alliance, there are less than 10 people who know your whereabouts. How did the people find out where you are? Sir God Mad Dog creased his eyebrows and asked. Who knows? Holocaust sect and Acheron Palace, humph, no one knows the tricks of those two hated parties. Luckily, the two of you happen to be here with me. Otherwise, with me alone, I'm afraid I couldn't save the divine pond, nor would I still be alive, Sir God Luo Sha humphed coldly. Sir God Luo Sha, Sir God Mad Dog sounded very serious. Holocaust sect in Acheron Palace found your location and locked their target at the divine pond of absolute beginning. In the near future you would definitely live in chaos. My advice to you is that you discuss with the few people from Sanctuary Alliance. Sir God Luo Sha squinted her eyes slightly when she heard that. Chapter 1711, Fly into a Rage. Chapter 1711, Fly into a Rage. This was a crimson world. The sky contained a crimson sun. At the center of the crimson world there was a bloody hole. It was a lofty hall. On the walls of the big hall, there were many gigantic and hideous faces. The eyes of the faces were so sinister and vicious that they made people fearful of them. The three Sir God experts, the gloomy old man, God Qi and God Ba, were in the big hall. However, at present, the three of them no longer had the airs of superiority of a Sir God expert. On the contrary, they were on their knees and bowing down. It was to the extent that they knelt down straight away and they were trembling in fear. There was no other reason. The only reason was that His Highness Mu Hong had died. Died? Honger has actually died? A golden-robed figure was sitting down at the highest position of the big hall. He wore a crimson ghost mask and his looks could not be seen clearly. However, the gloomy, shocking, murderous intent that he was currently releasing had caused the three Sir Gods below to shiver in fear. The mission this time around is not considered too difficult. By my logic, if we were to send two Sir God experts over, as long as they were careful, they would also be able to complete the mission. However, I sent the three of you and Honger there. Do you know why I did that? The strange eyes that the golden-robed figure revealed were looking down at the three people. The three of them was shaking in fear. Of course, they knew the reason why the Lord in front of them had sent them there. It was naturally to protect and assist His Highness Mu Hong. However, in the end, although Honger has died, the three of them survived. The golden-robed figure struck the seat with his hands and an invisible power spread across the area. Puff. 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 At that moment, the three Sir Gods who were kneeling down in the big hall spit out blood at the same time and their expressions turned deathly pale immediately. However, such a situation did not cause the three of them to tremble in fear. Instead, they were quite happy. Because they were still alive. Thank you, Lord, for sparing us, the three of them kowtowed and said gratefully. If not for now being a critical period and the fact that I lack people, the three of you would have died. An ice-cold voice could be heard from the golden-robed figure. The person who killed Honger was that Jianghu Shuang. It's him, the gloomy old man who was kneeling down on the ground continued speaking. This Jianghu Shuang is a lot stronger than what the real God ranking list has introduced him to be. It is obvious that his abilities have risen again during this short hundreds of years of time and the current him is probably considered extremely strong among the Sir Gods. Haha, Jianghu Shuang. When I heard his name last time, it was when his identity as an inverse cultivator was exposed. At that time, he had merely achieved the fighting capabilities of an eternal real God. From then to now, how long has it been? He has actually gotten himself established among the Sir Gods. If we were to give him another period of time, wouldn't I be unable to do anything against him as well? What about the Acheron Palace? Could it be that the Acheron Palace is sitting by and doing nothing? With such a huge threat present, they have still not gotten rid of it. Could it be that they really want to wait for him to become a great emperor who is an extremely high level before taking action? The golden-robed figure was roaring. His voice was so loud that it echoed within the big hall continuously. Please go and send a message to the Acheron Palace. If the Acheron Palace is really that useless, then they can simply become the Holocaust sect's underling and take orders from us. The Holocaust sect shall then be the one to deal with Jianghu Shuang. If the Acheron Palace is still of some use, they had better kill Jianghu Shuang while it's still early. I will only give them 1,000 years of time. Within 1,000 years, if Jianghu Shuang were to not die, I shall cut the connections between the Holocaust sect and the Acheron Palace. In the dark starry sky, there was a dark land floating about. Many lofty mountains stood tall and upright on the land. The mountains were 1,000,000 feet tall. Even the smallest one was more than 100,000 feet tall. At the center of the mountains, there was a dark divine hall which was floating quietly in the air. Within the vast hall, guards who were covered by dim light were standing tall and upright. Under the eyes of those guards, a black-robed figure came to the big hall and reported some information. Oh, the son of the Holocaust sect's 7th palace master has died? And he was killed by Jianghu Shuang? A deep, hoarse voice reverberated within the big hall. Although the voice seemed to come from all directions, the speaker had never shown himself. Humph, his son has always been a piece of trash. If he is dead, it means that he has really died. However, the seventh palace master actually unleashed his fury on the Acheron palace. What a joke. However, this matter has also given us a reminder. Jianwu Shuang, his speed of improvement is too fast. Hundreds of years ago, he merely wounded Sir God Qianlan fatally in the 8th lair. However, at that time Sir God Qianlan did not go all out, nor did he fight with all his might. Comparing abilities, he was not weaker than Jianwu Shuang. However, now, in just a short few hundreds of years, he killed the Sir God. Moreover, he killed the Sir God while he was under the protection of 3 Sir Gods. With such a fast speed of improvement, if the Acheron Palace wishes to kill him, it will soon be too late. Looks like we can no longer place our hopes on the Soaring Heaven King Palace. We have to be the ones to do it ourselves. Moreover, we have to do it immediately. The Acheron Palace had always been hidden extremely deeply within the darkness, and they would not take action easily. Moreover, they would not take action unless there was a need to. Previously, they had thought that since Jianwu Shuang was fighting with the Soaring Heaven King Palace, they would leave them to continue fighting and let the Soaring Heaven King Palace kill Jianwu Shuang. However, at that time they had to do it themselves. Devise a plan to assassinate Jianwu Shuang immediately. Moreover, for the devised plan, there must be more than a 90% chance of assassinating him successfully. Within 1,000 years, we must complete the assassination of Jianwu Shuang. The Acheron Palace will not allow such a top genius to continue living even for another 1,000 years. The hoarse, deep voice ordered. All right, the respectful black-robed man who was awaiting his orders nodded his head. After that, he started to make preparations. The Acheron Palace was definitely a dark powerhouse that the Sanctuary Alliance was most worried about. Its level of threat was even higher than that of the Holocaust sect. After all, although the Holocaust sect was evil and they would massacre wantonly, the people who they massacred were mostly weaklings. However, the Acheron Palace focused on assassinating higher-ups of the Sanctuary Alliance as well as geniuses. Furthermore, as soon as the Acheron Palace set themselves to killing a person and devised an assassination plan in detail, the probability of the expert surviving the assassination would definitely be less than 10%. At that moment, the Acheron Palace had started to devise the assassination plan to assassinate Jianwu Shuang. As for Jianwu Shuang, he was completely clueless about it. He knew that the talents and potential that he had revealed would definitely attract the attention of some dark powerhouses. However, he did not know that the dark powerhouses would think so highly of him. Moreover, he did not have a very good understanding of the techniques and abilities of the dark powerhouses. However, as he had made ample preparations and was vigilant, he was not that afraid of them. Chapter 1712 Taiqing Ancient Panacea. Chapter 1712 Taiqing Ancient Panacea. Jianwu Shuang and Sir God Mad Dog left Sir God Luo Sha's. As for Sir God Luo Sha, she had already informed the higher-ups in Sanctuary Alliance. There would definitely be a negotiation and trade between her and the higher-ups in Sanctuary Alliance. In short, Sir God Luo Sha definitely wouldn't continue to occupy Divine Pond of Absolute Beginning alone. Jianwu Shuang, you have stayed in Divine Pond of Absolute Beginning for at least 10 years. How did it go? Sir God Mad Dog asked casually. Not bad, Jianwu Shuang smiled, but there was a tinge of regret in his heart. He really regretted it. If he were to be given another 2 to 3 years, the ultimate divine power in his body would reach his extreme limit and he could finally break through and become Stage 3 Ultimate Real God. It was a pity because the Divine Pond of Absolute Beginning was severely damaged and he couldn't continue to absorb the power. How much more divine power do you need to accumulate for you reach your extreme limit? Sir God Mad Dog seemed to be asking casually. Not much, but if I were to have to accumulate it slowly on my own, it should require another 10 of thousands of years, Jianwu Shuang said. So long more. Sir God Mad Dog squinted his eyes. He thought for a while and finally made a decision. Boy, as you are quite polite to me, I shall share something with you. Something? Jianwu Shuang was confused. You should know that I have been staying in Thunderbolt Island all this while, but I suddenly left Thunderbolt Island and headed to Holy Kingdom of Dark Light. There definitely must be a reason, Sir God Mad Dog said. Not long ago I received news. In Holy Kingdom of Real Wuxia, someone who found Sir God Dan Hong's cave dwelling. Sir God Dan Hong is an ancient Sir God and he passed away long ago. As for how he died, no one knows. It is said that although Sir God Dan Hong wasn't powerful and he was on the bottom of the list, the elixirs that he refined are extraordinary. He is known to be extremely capable in elixir making, which is hard to come by in eternal chaotic world. He once refined many kinds of high-level elixirs, and some of the elixirs are extremely useful to Sir Gods. He also once refined an extremely unique elixir called Taiqing Ancient Panacea. It is a very unique elixir and only he could refine it. It contained a shocking amount of divine power. It is said that a Sir God that exhausted his divine power could recover to his peak in a short period of time if he consumed a Taiqing Ancient Panacea. Even an Emperor God could at least recover half of his divine power after taking the elixir. Jian Wushuang's eyes shimmered with joy when he heard that. If Taiqing Ancient Panacea contained such a shocking amount of divine power, it should be quite useful to those Sir Gods and Emperor Gods. If they were to run into trouble, it would be extremely useful. To Jian Wushuang, Taiqing Ancient Panacea contained such boundless divine power and he could absorb it directly. In eternal chaotic world, there is a variety of elixirs that contains pure divine power. However, one that contains such shockingly high amount of divine power, there aren't many besides Taiqing Ancient Panacea. Even if there is, they are extremely rare. One who couldn't play a certain kind of trick wouldn't be able to get them. Jian Wushuang nodded faintly as he understood that too. Previously, it was not that he had never considered precipitating his ultimate divine power droplet via consumption of elixir that contained pure divine power, it was just that the elixirs were extremely pricey and also, the divine power that they contained was nothing compared to the 100 drops of ultimate divine power droplet. To rely entirely on elixir or natural treasure for him to accumulate divine power to his extreme limit, even Lineage of Star couldn't afford the price. Hence, he had come to the divine pond of absolute beginning. Because such elixirs are too rare and too precious, Sir God Danhong's cave dwelling is extremely attractive. After all, Sir God Danhong might have left a lot of elixirs in his cave dwelling. There might even be some Taiqing Ancient Panaceas. Sir God Mad Dog smiled. When the news spread, it attracted the attention of many Almighties in Sanctuary Alliance. However, it's a pity that Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu is Sir God Lu Yin's territory. Sir God Lu Yin isn't weak among Sir Gods. He also has a high position in Sanctuary Alliance. He came out personally and took action for the Almighties in Sanctuary Alliance to give up the idea. They gave up, but I didn't. I still want to try the taste of Taiqing Ancient Panacea. So, I came out from Thunderbolt Island to go to Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu. Who knew I would run into you and bring you to Divine Pond of Absolute Beginning? So what happened to Sir God Danhong's cave dwelling? Jian Wushuang asked. It's interesting, Sir God Mad Dog smiled. I received news saying there are many elixirs left in Sir God Danhong's cave dwelling and more than 90% of the elixirs went to Sir God Lu Yin. However, somehow or other, the most important Taiqing Ancient Panacea among all elixirs, of which there is a total of 9, fell into the hands of a universe god. Universe god? Jian Wushuang was astonished. Something that an almighty was eyeing fell into the hands of a universe god. Was this a joke? I don't know what happened exactly, but Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu is in chaos. There are many people who are looking for the universe god, but they have yet to find even now, Sir God Mad Dog smiled. Jian Wushuang, as you need to accumulate divine power, the 9 Taiqing Ancient Panaceas should be helpful to you. Of course, you must first figure out a way to get the 9 Taiqing Ancient Panaceas. Thank you, Sir God Mad Dog, for telling me. I shall depart to Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu now, Jian Wushuang said. Go ahead. It's not too far from here to Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu. If you were to rush over now, you should be able to get there in time. Sir God Mad Dog waved his hand. He himself wasn't interested in Taiqing Ancient Panacea anymore. After all, he only wanted to eat Taiqing Ancient Panacea and to try the taste of it. It wasn't like he needed it. However, it was different for Jian Wushuang. When Jian Wushuang found out about Taiqing Ancient Panacea, he immediately went to Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu. He was really interested with Taiqing Ancient Panacea. After all, the divine power contained in Taiqing Ancient Panacea was shockingly enormous. It was extremely useful to his accumulation of divine power, and there were 9 of them. If he could get the 9 Taiqing Ancient Panaceas and consume them, he reckoned that even if the divine power in his body couldn't reach its extreme limit, it shouldn't be too far away from precipitating the 100 ultimate divine power droplets. Jian Wushuang hurried his journey at his maximum speed in the spaceship. He merely used a dozen years' time before he arrived at Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu. Chapter 1713 Ming Pub. Chapter 1713 Ming Pub. In the eternal chaotic world, gaps exist between different border areas as well as between different holy kingdoms. Some holy kingdoms were powerful while some holy kingdoms were weak. For example, the Snow Kingdom that Jian Wushuang first set foot in when he came to the eternal chaotic world was extremely far away from the 10 cultivation sanctuaries, and it belonged to one of the very remote holy kingdoms. Moreover, it was also an extremely weak holy kingdom that did not have many real gods. However, the holy kingdom of real Wushu was absolutely an extremely powerful holy kingdom. Moreover, the holy kingdom of real Wushu and the 16 other surrounding holy kingdoms were all under an almighty. This almighty was known as Sir God Luyin. The Yuming Mountain was a famous mountain range in the holy kingdom of real Wushu. The mountain range was famous for its fighting prowess, not because of the fact that impressive experts had appeared from it or because some powerhouses were present. It was because of the fact that the mountain range was the biggest place in the holy kingdom of real Wushu where most bandits were concentrated in. The Yuming Mountain stretched across hundreds of millions of miles and there were more than 1,000 million bandits in it. Among those bandits there were powerful ones as well as weak ones. The weak ones were normal heaven masters while the average ones were universe gods which were great in number. In addition, there was quite a number of real gods within the mountain range. Due to the bandits running wild, the mountain range had a very bad name. On normal days, if there was no need to, many of the cultivators in the holy kingdom of real Wushu would absolutely not choose to go into the Yuming Mountain. However, ever since more than 10 years ago where the universe god known as He Xiu escaped into the Yuming Mountain had become extremely lively. He Xiu was the universe god who possessed the 9 Taiqing ancient panaceas. As soon as he escaped into the Yuming Mountain, many experts who had cast their greedy eyes on his 9 Taiqing ancient panacea came to the Yuming Mountain and started to search for him crazily. It should be known that there were too many cultivators who had cast their eyes on the 9 Taiqing ancient panaceas. Moreover, most of them were experts. This also included many powerhouses and sects of the holy kingdom of real Wushu, as well as the surrounding 16 holy kingdoms. The number of cultivators was uncountable. With so many experts of the powerhouses and sects going into the Yuming Mountain, the bandits within the Yuming Mountain were totally unable to hold their ground against them. Hence, they were naturally affected. However, it was not easy to find a universe god within thousands of millions of bandits. Hence, to date, after more than tens of years had passed, no one had found He Xiu yet. At a spacious main road which was near the center region of the Yuming Mountain, there was an exquisite pub and it was called the Ming Pub. The pub was only built recently and it was a rest area specially built for the experts who were looking for He Xiu in the mountain range. In addition, much information regarding the Hongming Mountain was also exchanged in the pub. For example, if a universe god who looked like He Xiu were to appear somewhere in the Hongming Mountain or within any group of bandits, the pub would make this information public immediately. For such a kind of pub, they could be found in each and every corner of the Hongming Mountain. Just then, this pub was extremely lively and there were at least hundreds of cultivators talking wantonly. Some of them were drinking wine and chatting while some of them were exchanging information. Swoosh! All of a sudden, a blood-robed youth who was carrying a sword landed in the open space outside the pub. After that, he suppressed his aura and entered the pub slowly. "This Mr. over here, may I know what you need?" A green-clothed young lady behind the counter asked. "Give me detailed information regarding He Xiu as well as what has happened in the Hongming Mountain in this period of time. Also, give me a bottle of wine," Jian Wushuang said. "No problem, but I will require you to pay 200,000 divine gems," the green-clothed young lady said. 200,000 divine gems were equivalent to all the possessions of a weak universe god. However, to Jian Wushuang it was too little to make a difference. At present, his social status was that of an almighty. For the 100,000 doctrine gems which he had obtained from the Soaring Heaven King Palace, one of them was equivalent to hundreds of millions of divine gems. The green-clothed young lady gave the report to Jian Wushuang. After receiving it, Jian Wushuang found a random seat within the pub and sat down. After that, he started to browse through the report. Many cultivators within the pub knew that Jian Wushuang had come for He Xiu. However, they were not too concerned about him. After all of them had come for He Xiu as well. Moreover, as Jian Wushuang had suppressed his aura, they were unable to tell how strong Jian Wushuang was and they treated him like a universe god who was similar to them. Little did they imagine that the person who was sitting with them was a super existence who would be able to make the king of Holy Kingdom of real Wushu shiver with fear with a stomp of his foot. Oh, no wonder a universe god like He Xiu can obtain the 9 Taiqing ancient panaceas. So it's like that. As Jian Wushuang looked at the report in his hands, he shook his head. The main reason could be explained in one word: greed. It was not He Xiu who was greedy. Instead, it was the elders of He Xiu. According to the report, He Xiu was born into the He family, which was a big family in the Holy Kingdom of Real Wuxia. The He family had always been cordial to the king of Holy Kingdom of Real Wuxia. Moreover, in the Holy Kingdom of Real Wuxia, it was definitely a big powerhouse that could get into the top 5 among the powerhouses of the Holy Kingdom. Back then, when Sir God Dan Hong's cave was discovered within the Holy Kingdom of Real Wuxia, as the cave was too huge and it contained many mazes, it naturally required a huge number of experts to explore it. Hence, the king of Holy Kingdom of Real Wuxia sent many experts under him to explore the cave. These experts included many experts from the He family, and even He Xiu's father was included. After searching the cave inside out, quite a number of experts under the king of Holy Kingdom of Real Wuxia had died, but many of the elixirs that were left behind by Sir God Dan Hong were retrieved in the end. However, it was a pity that among the elixirs that were retrieved, the Taiqing ancient Panacea was not present. Against that, the king of Holy Kingdom of Real Wuxia, as well as the almighty Sir God Luyin who was behind him, could not do anything, and they could only assume that Sir God Dan Hong had not left any Taiqing ancient Panaceas behind. After all the elixirs that he had left behind were only discovered at the very end, and they were inside 3 Qianquan rings. As such, no one could steal anything secretly. Hence, this matter was about to come to an end. However, who could have known that the experts who were exploring Sir God Dan Hong's cave would unintentionally discover a secret room at the very end? Moreover, it should be known that the secret room originally contained an opportunity as well as a total of 9 Taiqing ancient Panaceas. However, when the secret room was discovered, the opportunity and the 9 Taiqing ancient Panaceas had already disappeared. This meant that among the experts under the king of Holy Kingdom of Real Wuxia, someone had obtained the opportunity and the 9 Taiqing ancient Panaceas. However, they hid them quietly and did not turn them over. Sir God Luyin then became furious. At the same time, the king of Holy Kingdom of Real Wuxia was also enraged, and both of them started to investigate. With the investigation, they found their way to the He family. It was an expert of the He family. Moreover, it was He Xiu's father who obtained the opportunity and Taiqing ancient Panacea in the secret room by coincidence. However, due to his greed where he wanted them for himself, he invited a great disaster to the He family and caused it to be destroyed. Chapter 17:14 Alike? Chapter 17:14 Alike. He Xiu is quite pitiful. Jian Wushuang shook his head and sighed. According to the information, He Xiu was the top genius of the young generation in He family. Not only was he talented, his mental state was terrifyingly strong. He had extremely great potential. However, after the news of him privately possessing opportunity and Taiqing ancient Panacea spread, He Xiu suffered the calamity of his family being exterminated. Almost the entire He family was killed. Only he managed to escape along with the opportunity and Taiqing ancient Panacea. Then he ran into Ming Mountain and countless experts chased after him. He was originally a god's favored one, but he was being hunted. He Xiu was of course pitiful. Although he was pitiful, Jian Wushuang wouldn't pity him at all. After all, he was one of those who were chasing after He Xiu. In the pub, Jian Wushuang was drinking alone. At the same time, he continued to flip through the information. Then a dozen figures came into the pub from outside. These people let their auras spread wantonly. All of them were peak universe gods in the third heaven. Among their leader, a brown-haired man, was already a void real god. One should know that they were only in one of the holy kingdoms, not a place like the 10 sanctuaries. A real god leading a dozen of peak universe gods in the third heaven, such a troop was terrifying enough. These people are from Ling family. Ling family? The originally noisy pub instantly went quiet. Everyone in the pub was looking at the dozens of people from Ling family who had just walked it. Most of them had fear in their eyes. Ling family? Jian Wushuang took a glance at the people. From the information that he had just read, Ling family was like the He family that was exterminated. They were both big families in Holy Kingdom of Real Wuxia, but they were slightly more powerful than He family. However, Jian Wushuang couldn't even be bothered by the king of Holy Kingdom of Real Wuxia, let alone Ling family. With a simple glance, Jian Wushuang continued to drink while he read the information on hand. The few of you go away. The brown-haired man, who was the leader of the people from Ling family, looked at the few cultivators at the table before him and pressed over with his real god aura. The few warriors' faces grew pale from the pressure, and they immediately gave their table up with hesitation. The brown-haired man sat at the table, and there was someone who poured him a drink immediately, Humph, He Xiu, that bastard, he is so well hidden. It has been over 10 years and we have yet to find him, the brown-haired man roared without any cover-up. Ling family and He family were the two strongest families in Holy Kingdom of real Wushu. They were normally sworn enemies. Then, as He family was in trouble, Ling family was, of course, the happiest party. Ling family was also the most hard-working party that was chasing after He Xiu from He family. The brown-haired man was burning with rage. He chugged his drink and looked around him. Looking at the gaze of the brown-haired man, everyone in the pub lowered their heads. Only Jianghu Shuang was still flipping through the information in his hand. Huh. The brown-haired man's gaze stopped at Jianghu Shuang. This person. It wasn't because Jianghu Shuang didn't lower his head that he noticed Jianghu Shuang, but because of Jianghu Shuang's attire. The brown-haired man flipped his hand and there was a copy of the information in his hand. He was from Ling family and Ling family knew He family the best. He was also very familiar with He Xiu. Hence, the copy of the information about He Xiu that he had was in much more in detail than the one provided by Ming Pub. Crimson robe, carrying a sword on his back. Back when He Xiu was wandering, he dressed in a crimson robe and carried a sword on his back, exactly like this person before me. Both of their features look very young too. The brown-haired man fixed his gaze. He had never seen He Xiu before, nor did he have He Xiu's portrait, but he knew He Xiu's attire. He Xiu was good with a sword and he was crazy about swords. So he always carried a sword on his back. You saw He Xiu once. Is it this person? The brown-haired man looked to a universe god from Ling family next to him and asked. Missed it. When I saw He Xiu back then, I only saw him from afar. I didn't see his facial features. But in terms of body shape and attire, the two of them are quite similar. But He Xiu is running for his life. He wouldn't come to Ming Pub like an idiot and not bother to disguise himself. The universe god from Ling family said. Humph, we will find out if it is him when we question him, the brown-haired man humped coldly. He looked at Jianghu Shuang with a sharp glare. Young man, come here. As he humphed, his real god-level pressure pressed onto Jianghu Shuang. Jianghu Shuang continued to flip through the information in his hand, but he glanced at the brown-haired man. You'd better not provoke me. Otherwise you'll regret it. Haha, in Holy Kingdom of real Wushu, who has the capability to make Ling family regretful? This is such a joke. Young man, you'd better take out your Chen Kuan ring for me to check. Otherwise, I will kill you and check your Chen Kuan ring after. The brown-haired man scoffed, but it was doubtlessly a commanding tone. The universe gods from Ling family who stood behind him were smirking coldly too. Then Jianghu Shuang didn't speak anymore but extended his finger slowly and pointed in the direction of the brown-haired man. Virum. A shapeless sword in tension swept out. The sword shadow looked weak and didn't seem to be powerful at all. But when it appeared, it instantly flew before the brown-haired man. The brown-haired man was still smiling, but there was a sudden shock in his eyes. The sword shadow flew past his body, then through the universe gods' bodies behind him. Then the sword shadow quivered and dispersed. Jianghu Shuang reined back his palm and raised his glass to take a sip. In this world there are so many idiots. Even though he is already a real god, Jianghu Shuang muttered and remained at ease. The cultivators from Ling family, their bodies stiffened on the spot and then fell one after another. Then there was not a squeak but only blood that constantly flowed out from their wounds. Every cultivator in the pub saw the scene and their faces grew pale. They looked at Jianghu Shuang with an unprecedentedly terrified look. Real God was an absolute superb expert in Holy Kingdom of real Wushu. However, a superb expert was just like an ant when he was killed by the person before their eyes so casually. Such power. These people immediately understood that the young man in the crimson robe who was sitting alone while he read the information was truly a top expert. He was at least the level of an eternal real god or even higher. Chapter 1715 Ling Family. Chapter 1715, Ling Family. The Ming Pub became quiet again. As for the bodies of the experts of the Ling family, some people from the pub came to remove them immediately. However, after that, no one in the hub dared to make a racket. They even dared not to talk loudly as they were frightened that they might make Jianghu Shuang dissatisfied. Jianghu Shuang was too lazy to care about it and he continued to look at the report. However, all of a sudden the green-clothed young lady behind the pub's counter walked to Jianghu Shuang. This lord over here, the green-clothed young lady was modest and she was not too fearful. What's the matter? Jianghu Shuang did not even turn his head back. Lord, do you know that the people who you just killed were experts from the Ling family, and that they are only inferior to the king? Throughout the ages, the people who had provoked the Ling family did not have a good life. Thus, I advise Lord to leave quickly before the experts of the Ling family come, the green-clothed young lady said. Oh, thank you very much for telling me. After talking, Jian Wushuang did not have any response. The green-clothed young lady frowned and continued to talk. From the looks of it, Lord seems to be an expert who came from another holy kingdom. Hence, you do not know how powerful the Ling family is. The Ling family itself has more than 20 real gods. Among them there are a total of 5 eternal real gods. Moreover, they even have a chaotic real god. It's a chaotic real god who can totally become a king if he were placed in some normal holy kingdoms. With such a great force, Lord? I understand. Jian Wushuang only nodded his head like before. Seeing that Jian Wushuang did not have any response, the green-clothed young lady shook her head and stopped advising him. Although the people within the pub were afraid of Jian Wushuang's abilities, they did not leave in a rush. Instead, they were waiting to watch the show that was about to occur. After all, not just anyone could kill the people of the Ling family. Moreover, the people who Jian Wushuang killed were a real god with 10 other top universe gods of the third heaven. Forgetting the universe gods, a real god was like a tower of strength to the Ling family. As expected, in no time the experts of the Ling family who had gotten the news arrived. This time around, 20 experts from the Ling family had come. Among them, there was a total of 3 real gods as well as 1 eternal real god. After they arrived, they saw the piled-up bodies of the experts of the Ling family which were unburied outside the pub, and they became furious at once. Who is this person who dared to see my Ling family as nothing and kill my experts wantonly? A loud and furious shout which sounded like a lion roaring resounded throughout the whole pub. The roaring voice then caused some cultivators with weak abilities among the many cultivators in the pub to have no choice but to cover their ears. As the frightening pressure spread, a red, long-robed and stalwart old man with scarlet hair walked over slowly under the escort of his group of people. The scarlet-haired old man was the eternal real god among the group of people, and he was also Ling Yan, an expert from the Ling family who was known for his mighty reputation in the holy kingdom of real Wushu. Upon seeing the person who had come, many cultivators in the pub revealed a fearful expression, and all of them lowered their heads. In addition, some of them even stood up immediately and retreated to the end of the edge. Only Jian Wushuang continued to sit down on his seat normally like before. The scarlet-haired old man Ling Yan naturally noticed Jian Wushuang straight away. Ling Yan's expression turned grave. Jian Wushuang had intentionally hidden his aura, and normal cultivators were indeed unable to tell him apart. However, Ling Yan was an eternal teal god, and Jian Wushuang's stage 2 ultimate real god was equivalent to the level of an eternal real god. Since Jian Wushuang was of the level of Ling Yan naturally managed to tell him apart. So it's an eternal real god. No wonder he is able to kill Ling Tao and the rest of the people. However, the people of the Ling family are not people who can be killed by anyone. Even if you are an eternal real god, it's still not allowed. Ling Yan bellowed with rage. I have already killed them. If you wish to avenge them, go ahead and be my guest. There's no need for any unnecessary words. Jian Wushuang's voice was ice cold. Haha, what great courage. Seems like I, Iron Lion Ling Yan, have not fought for a very long time, and the dynasty of real Wushu is about to forget about me. Since that's the case, I shall let everyone know my mighty name, Iron Lion, again. Long Yan was extremely furious and also laughing at the same time. His laughter contained frightening sound waves which spread across the area. Little kid die. With a furious roar, air currents appeared as Ling Yan had already launched an attack. This sound is really noisy. Jian Wushuang shook his head and extended that slender finger of his like before. With a finger, a similar shadow appeared. Previously, this shadow had killed Ling Tao and his group of people right away. At that moment, when Jian Wushuang unleashed it again, he seemed to have pierced the body of Ling Yan instantly. Ling Yan opened his eyes widely and they were filled with shock. However, his body had already started to fall. An expert of the current generation, Iron Lion Ling Yan, who was famous in the holy kingdom of real Wushu, was killed instantly. Such a scene caused the people within the pub to be shocked again. As for the experts of the Ling family, they were extremely astonished as well. Go back and tell the head of the Ling family that I do not wish to cause trouble. However, if anyone dares to provoke me, I will not give them any mercy. I have already killed 2 waves of experts from the Ling family. If he has the guts to do so, he can continue to send the 3rd wave over. However, I can guarantee that he will regret it. Jian Wushuang's voice spread slowly as he drank his wine. The experts of the Ling family were shivering in fear and they did not dare to stay. They then took Ling Yan's body along with them and headed back. Upon seeing that, Jian Wushuang shook his head. He had absolutely no intention of starting trouble, and it was the people of the Ling family who took the initiative to look for him. However, with his abilities he could destroy countless powerhouses similar to the Ling family with just a flick of his finger. However, doing that would attract too much attention. At that time, He Xiu had not been found and the 9 Taiqing ancient panaceas had not appeared yet. As such, Jian Wushuang did not want to attract the attention of Sir God Lu Yin at such an early stage. As for the Ling family, he did not plan to continue massacring them. However, if the Ling family was not tactful, then he was not to blame. "Ha, your abilities are strong," a hearty laugh could be heard abruptly. Jian Wushuang continued drinking like before and everyone within the pub looked to the source of the voice. A green-robed, middle-aged man who was carrying a green thunder saber on his back had already entered the pub. The green-robed, middle-aged man looked scholarly. However, Jian Wushuang's eyes were filled with a bit of arrogance. "I am Delay. May I know who you are?" The green-robed, middle-aged man walked to the front of Jian Wushuang and questioned modestly. When the surrounding people heard his name, they revealed shocked expressions. "It's Blood Thunder Saber Delay, the person whose abilities are only inferior to the king of Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu. A chaotic real god." Gosh. Those people were so shocked that they were stunned. However, Jian Wushuang was still normal like before and he was not too concerned. "Delay? My name is Sword Emperor." Jian Wushuang's voice was dull. Chapter 1716, Team Up? Chapter 1716, Team Up. Sword Emperor? Delay was surprised. Not only was he famous in Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu, but he also wandered in the surrounding 16 Holy Kingdoms. Hence, he was familiar with the experts in the 16 Holy Kingdoms, but he had never heard of Sword Emperor. Maybe he is an expert from outside of 16 Holy Kingdoms, Delay thought to himself. Then he asked with a smile, "May I take a seat?" "Go ahead," Jian Wushuang didn't refuse. Delay sat down opposite Jian Wushuang. "You should be here for the 9 Taiqing ancient panacea in He Xiu's hands, right?" "Yes," Jian Wushuang didn't deny it. It was useless to deny it. As he was already in Yuming Mountain, he definitely came for Taiqing ancient panacea. It's a pity that although Taiqing ancient panacea is impressive, it is useless for us real gods. Plus, no matter who gets the Taiqing ancient panaceas in the end, they have to give it to Mr. Lu Yin. What we could get at most are rewards from Mr. Lu Yin, Delay said. "Why is that?" Jian Wushuang asked in surprise. "You didn't know?" Delay looked at Jian Wushuang curiously and said, "No matter if it's Holy Kingdom of Jianghu that we are in now, or the surrounding 16 Holy Kingdoms, they are under the control of Mr. Lu Yin. Treasures like Taiqing ancient panacea aren't something we real gods can have. Mr. Lu Yin spread words long ago. Whoever passes him the Taiqing ancient panaceas will receive a great reward from him." "That's a reward from an almighty." There was passion in Delay's eyes. Taiqing ancient panacea contained divine power which was too enormous an amount. To Sir God or Emperor God it was extremely useful, but it would be a waste for a real god to consume a Taiqing ancient panacea. Regardless of if it was expert in Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu or experts attracted from the surrounding 16 Holy Kingdoms, even if they retrieved Taiqing ancient panacea, they would only offer it to Sir God Lu Yin in exchange for treasure. Even so, it was enough to make countless experts go crazy. Sir God Lu Yin doesn't look for He Xiu himself but used the experts from the 16 Holy Kingdoms under his control to look for him. He only spread a message and there would be people sending him the Taiqing ancient panacea. He is a very wise man, Jian Wushuang smiled. "Do you know how many experts came to Yuming Mountain to fight for Taiqing ancient panacea?" Delay asked again. "No idea," Jian Wushuang shook his head. "Many. So many that it is beyond your imagination. Not only the experts in Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu and the surrounding 16 Holy Kingdoms, but also many experts from the 16 Holy Kingdoms rushed over. If all of them are added up, the number of real god is unknown. Even the number of chaotic real god is many," Delay said, and there was astonishment in his eyes. "There are so many experts. When He Xiu is found there would definitely be a fierce fight. I reckon there should be a number of passing rate even if they are chaotic real gods." "Maybe," Jian Wushuang smiled faintly but he couldn't be bothered. Real god, so what if there are many of them? Then, Delay seemed to find that it was an opportunity and he finally explained his purpose in coming. Although you are extremely strong and you couldn't even be bothered with Ling family, you are all alone after all. If they were to start a fight, you would not have enough manpower. The Taiqing ancient Panacea wouldn't fall into your hands. Why not you team up with us? You? Jian Wushuang glanced at Di Lei. Besides you, who else? There are the other 4 experts from the 16 holy kingdoms. One of them is a chaotic real god, the other 2 are peak eternal real gods. With you, our team would be even stronger. By then, even if we were to come across the king of holy kingdom of real Wushu, we wouldn't have to be afraid. Di Lei smiled. I see. Jian Wushuang smiled, but then he shook his head. I'm sorry. I prefer to be solo. I'm not used to teaming up. Di Lei's face grew dim. You should reconsider this carefully. Although you are powerful and you could even fight against a chaotic real god alone, there are many that could kill you during the fight later on. I don't know if there's anyone who could kill me, but I don't like to team up with others. Jian Wushuang's face was cold. Di Lei didn't bother to convince him. Well, good luck. Watching Di Lei leave, Jian Wushuang continued to drink by himself as he smiled faintly. Di Lei might be sincerely asking for him to team up, and what he had said was reasonable. If Jian Wushuang was only an ordinary chaotic real god, he would only stand a higher chance to get Taiqing ancient Panacea if he were to team up with Di Lei. However, Di Lei didn't know Jian Wushuang's true power. In the fight for Taiqing ancient Panacea, Jian Wushuang was only concerned about Sir God Lu Yun. As for the other real gods, he couldn't be bothered. With his power, did he need to team up with anyone? After he talked to Di Lei, Jian Wushuang thought highly of Sir God Lu Yun's method of doing things. If he was not mistaken, he reckoned that all the Ming pubs in Ming Mountain should be operating under the command of Sir God Lu Yun. The information provided to the cultivators in Ming Mountain by the pub for the cultivators to look for He Xiu's whereabouts. While Sir God Lu Yun himself sat on the fishing terrace, he controlled everything in his hands. Regardless of who got the Taiqing ancient Panacea in the end, they would send it to him. The only thing that he needed to do was pay some rewards. If the fight for Taiqing ancient Panacea was really just among a bunch of ordinary real god, even the top chaotic real god couldn't run from Sir God Lu Yun's control. It was a pity that Sir God Lu Yun definitely didn't think that Jian Wushuang would come by. The rest of the time, Jian Wushuang continued to stay in the pub as he waited in silence. He wasn't interested in looking for He Xiu's whereabouts over hill and dale like the other cultivators. He knew that there were so many people who couldn't find He Xiu over 10 years. He didn't think he would be so lucky to find He Xiu all by himself. Plus, once He Xiu was found, unless the person was killed, there would be a slight bit of news leaked, and Ming Pub would announce it to the public. Then Jian Wushuang could also instantly know his location and head over to find him, which would be much easier. As for Ling family, when they find out Jian Wushuang had killed Ling Yan, the higher-ups in Ling family were pissed off, but they also knew that Jian Wushuang was an expert who likely could be compared favorably with a chaotic real god. Plus, their main focus was to look for He Xiu. They wouldn't come to make trouble with Jian Wushuang in the near future. Chapter 1717 He Xiu shows himself. Chapter 1717 He Xiu shows himself. In a flash, another 8 years passed. From the time that He Xiu had escaped into the Ming Mountain to the present, more than 20 years had passed. With over 20 years of time as well as so many experts searching crazily in the Ming Mountain, He Xiu was still not found. Hence, quite a number of people could not help but wonder if He Xiu was still inside the Ming Mountain. Or perhaps someone had already found He Xiu, killed him, snatched the Taiqing ancient Panaceas away and escaped stealthily after that. Although there were some suspicions, many experts still did not give up. In a gorge of the Ming Mountain there were many buildings. This place was a lair of a big group of bandits. Within a secret room, 10 figures were gathered together, and the person sitting at the highest point was a hunchbacked old man with an extremely evil aura. The hunchbacked old man had gloomy eyes. However, his expression was a bit pale. During this period of time, Ming Mountain has not been very peaceful, and even our men feel a bit restless. The hunchbacked old man slammed his supporting chair and his indifferent voice resounded within the secret room. After that, he looked at a crafty-looking black-haired youth. Shui He, I have gotten you to observe the movements of second brother and third brother closely. How has it been? Long Yi, for this period of time, the second leader and third leader have been having secret conversions frequently, and they are extremely secretive. Our people are totally unable to mix in with them, and we have no idea what they are discussing. However, from their movements, they are probably preparing to take action, the black-haired youth answered. Humph, they are really preparing to rebel. the hunchbacked old man's eyes were filled with fury and his aura roused, causing the whole secret room to be filled with a cold frost. The second leader and third leader have been restless for many days. But on normal days, due to your abilities, they did not dare to act recklessly. However, this time around, as you are injured, they found an opportunity, the black-haired youth said. Two thankless wretches. If I had known that this would happen, I would have killed the both of them back then, the hunchbacked old man bellowed loudly, and he was filled with hatred. He was an extremely powerful real god who stood at the top of the void real gods, and on normal days, he stood by his words within the group of bandits. Even if the two leaders under him were to have some small motives, with him suppressing them, they did not do anything that was out of the ordinary. Hence, he did not take action against the both of them. However, this time around, many experts were looking for traces of He Xiu in the Yuming mountain. Hence, bandits like them were implicated. Not long ago, some experts came to their territory. As those few experts wanted to search the Qianquan rings of all the universe gods under him, they ended up in a conflict with them, and a big fight broke out as a result. Although those few experts were repelled in the end, he was seriously injured, and to date he had not even recovered 50% of his abilities. Hence, this allowed the two leaders under him to find an opportunity. The hunchbacked old man was discussing with everyone how to deal with the two leaders. However, all of a sudden, the big door of the secret room was kicked open. After that, a big group of people came in, and the people right in front of them were the two leaders. Second brother and third brother, both of you are really going to rebel? The hunchbacked old man smote the table and stood up in anger. Haha, we have been unable to stand an old bastard like you since long ago. Since we have an opportunity this time around, how can we let it go? Since everyone happens to be here, we shall kill of you together. With an order from the two leaders, many of the bandits under them charged in immediately. A great battle burst forth instantly. On the battlefield, the hunchbacked old man's side was definitely at a disadvantage, and it was very one-sided. Under the siege of the two leaders, the hunchbacked old man himself was also in imminent danger. Thus, the people under him were probably in a worse condition. Swoosh. A strange figure was shuffling back and forth in the battlefield. This person was the crafty-looking black-haired youth known as He. Although he looked ugly, his abilities were outstanding. The black knife that he held in one of his hands was either swung from time to time or swung cunningly with an extremely fast speed, and it swept past the bodies of many universe gods. After just a short amount of time, He had already killed 6 universe gods. Little kid, your abilities are not too bad. No wonder you have such a high position after joining for only 10 years. However, it's a pity that you have followed the wrong person. Brothers, kill him. After a purple-clothed man bellowed loudly, a total of 10 bandits besieged He immediately. Those bandits were all universe gods, and there was a total of 5 universe gods of the third heaven among them. With all of them teaming up and besieging he could only retreat again and again in defeat. No, I won't be able to last any longer. He's eyes were cold, and he was looking at the situation around him. Those bandits had surrounded him from all sides, and he could not find any opportunity to escape unless he could kill all of them. However, with that, I have no choice. All of a sudden, He's eyes turned cold and his aura changed greatly in an instant. Originally, he had looked crafty and wretched. However, at that moment, it was just like the hell-killing gods. All of a sudden, a crimson sword swept past the area, and many rays of crimson light appeared in the void repeatedly. The rays of crimson light were like crimson lotuses which had blossomed. The sad, beautiful scenery then attracted the attention of many universe gods around the area. Swish, 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 swish. The sounds of the cutting edge of a sword piercing through bodies could be heard repeatedly. In an instant, the throats of the 10 bandits who had besieged He were pierced and their lives dissipated. Such a scene then caused those surrounding bandits who were fighting to be extremely shocked. How is this possible? He killed 10 universe gods, including 5 universe gods of the third heaven, with one stroke. The He is actually so strong? No, that's wrong. He has always used a black knife as his weapon. When did it change into a sword? Moreover, his fighting capabilities are so strong? The surrounding people were so astonished that they were stunned. Even the hunchbacked old man Long Yi, who was fighting, as well as the 2 leaders, looked over. This is... Long Yi opened his eyes wide. They were not idiots. He has obviously been hiding his abilities intentionally. Moreover, he had even hidden the weapon that he used. The most important thing was that even his own aura had changed completely. This was a group of bandits, and there was absolutely no need to hide anything. However, Shui had hidden himself so deeply. By thinking of the crimson sword that he used as well as when he joined the group of bandits. He Xiu. He is He Xiu. Long Yi was the first person to roar. He Xiu. The two leaders also cried out in alarm. At the next moment, the three people who were originally fighting stopped and three pairs of eyes which were burning with excitement looked at Shui. It was not fake that they were having an internal fight for the sake of their own benefit. However, these benefits were considered nothing compared to the Taiqing ancient panaceas that He Xiu possessed. Kill him. Capture him. Many of the bandits who were originally fighting madly buried the hatchet instantly and headed toward Shui. Run. Shui also did not hesitate in the slightest, and he started to run away crazily at once. While running, he no longer concealed any of his abilities. Chapter 17:18 Mad He Xiu. Chapter 17:18 Mad He Xiu. Ming Pub was still busy and crowded. Jianghu sat in the corner of the pub and drank on his own. No one dared to disturb him. Just then, the maiden dressed in the green at the counter shouted, "Everyone, I just received the latest update. You might be interested." The pub was suddenly noisy and everyone went to the counter to pay 100,000 god gems in exchange for the update. As for Jianghu, he didn't move, but the maiden in green took the initiative to pass him the message without taking a single cent. Jianghu browsed through the update carefully. He has disguised himself with a sneaky look and concealed his power. He hid his weapon and hid in a thief lair. As there was an internal fight, he displayed his true power and killed over 10 universe gods with one stroke, including 5 universe gods in the third heaven. Jianghu was surprised. According to the information, he was 80 to 90% certain that it was He Xiu. Shui. His name had the word Shui as well. Plus, he used a sword and he is powerful. There were 3 real gods among the thieves, but he escaped. Jianghu smiled but didn't hesitate and plunged in the direction of Shui. Then, as the news spread in Yuming Mountain, countless experts in Yuming Mountain immediately departed too. Yuming Mountain in the sunny void. Swoosh. A flowing light pierced at a shocking speed while it was followed by densely dotted rainbow lights that were swift in speed too. He Xiu, you can't run away. Give us Taiqing ancient panacea. Otherwise you have to die. There was a roar followed by another and the sound shook the earth. Besides the people chasing behind, there were a large number of experts besieging He Xiu from all directions. Among the experts, there were real gods, even eternal real gods and chaotic real gods. He was only a universe god. Under such circumstances, it could be said that he was inescapable. My divine power is almost exhausted. I can't escape. He Xiu's face was pale and he felt helpless. It wasn't that he had never thought of consuming Taiqing ancient panacea. It could let his divine power recover quickly. However, looking at the situation before his eyes, there wasn't any use if he were to recover his divine power. As I can't escape, let's bet. There was an unprecedented madness in He Xiu's eyes. Swoosh. He who was originally running away suddenly stopped in the air. Haha, you're going to stop running away? Offer no resistance. The experts hemming him in from all directions had fire churning in their eyes. The 9 Taiqing ancient panaceas, whoever got them would receive a bounty reward from Sir God Luin. He was an almighty. Any random reward that was given by an almighty was enough for real gods that had no background to go crazy. Just as the experts were getting closer to He Xiu to kill him and take away the Taiqing ancient panaceas. Don't come any closer. Otherwise, I will break them all into pieces. None of you will get them. A low bellow was heard from He Xiu. He extended his hand and gripped a green jade bottle tightly in his hand. He squeezed and the jade bottle, made of an unknown material, suddenly cracked a little. The sight made the surrounding experts' faces change and all of them stopped. There were many experts among them. There were even a few chaotic real god. They really could kill He Xiu easily. However, if He Xiu were to break the jade bottle into pieces before he died and shatter all the Taiqing ancient panaceas in it, their efforts would all go to waste. Not only would their efforts go to waste, but Sir God Luin would also be pissed too, right? He Xiu, why are you still struggling now? There was a sudden cold hump that spread across heaven and earth. Everyone looked at the source and they saw 6 figures gathered there. Among the 6 of them, there were 2 chaotic real gods and the other 4 were the top eternal real gods. The leader was recognized in the first instant. It's Delay. It's him? The surrounding experts looked on in concern. Lei was not only famous in Holy Kingdom of Real God, but he was also famous in the 16 Holy Kingdoms, and he was very powerful. On top of that, he wasn't alone, but there were many experts behind him. Haha, even a beast would know what is called a desperate fight, let alone humans. Although I, He Xiu, am only a universe god, if I could be chased after by so many experts from the surrounding 16 Holy Kingdoms, I didn't live in vain. He Xiu laughed. There was madness in his laughter. However, even if I die, I will not let you gain a petty advantage. Don't all you want the Taiqing ancient panaceas? I will not give to you. I can be burnt to death with the Taiqing ancient panaceas. Everyone's faces grew grave when they heard what He Xiu said. Suddenly, go away. He Xiu suddenly roared and he clenched his right hand. The jade bottle that was in it cracked. Virum. A ghostly figure substantiated about 100 meters away from He Xiu. The ghostly figure was a cold-looking woman. Young man, you are only a universe god, but you're quite quick to respond, huh? The woman glanced at He Xiu with a tinge of discontent. She was good at assassination. She had originally intended to get closer to He Xiu, kill him and take away the Taiqing ancient panaceas, but she had never expected He Xiu to notice her. You want to assassinate me? He Xiu's gaze grew cold. He looked around with soaring murderous intention. I'll give you a choice now. Either kill this person who tried to surprise attack me, or I will squash the Taiqing ancient panaceas. What? The cold-looking woman who surprise attacked He Xiu was shocked. He noticed the surrounding murderous gazes fixed upon her. For Taiqing ancient panacea you have to die. Lei turned into lightning and struck. Run. The cold-looking woman realized that she had become the public target and she couldn't be bothered with the Taiqing ancient panaceas. She instantly started running away. However, not long after she started running, a huge hand descended from the sky. The huge hand covered the cold-looking woman and pinched the cold-looking woman like she was an ant. The huge hand exerted strength and crushed her into pieces before everyone, including He Xiu. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. A large crowd plunged over. Their leader was a white-robed man. The white-robed man gave out gentle aura and made one feel as though they were showering in sunlight. The one who launched an attack at the cold-looking woman was this person. Chapter 1719, The Only Condition. Chapter 1719, The Only Condition. It's the king of Holy Kingdom of Real Wuxia. And the person beside him is Ling Tianxiao, the head of the Ling family. The king has actually come himself. Sounds of shock could be heard from the scene at once. Among the many experts present, although quite a number of them came from the 16 surrounding holy kingdoms, the Yuming Mountain was in the Holy Kingdom of Real Wuxia after all. Hence, in the Yuming Mountain, the king of Holy Kingdom of Real Wuxia was definitely the overlord, and the abilities that he possessed were the most powerful. Lei, I didn't think that you would come as well. The king of the Holy Kingdom of Real Wuxia had a vast amount of aura which was like a rising sun illuminating the universe. Upon seeing the king of Holy Kingdom of Real Wuxia, Lei's expression turned grave. The person who he feared the most in the fight for the Taiqing ancient panaceas this time around was the king of Holy Kingdom of Real Wuxia. As such, he did whatever he could to rope people over to his side previously so that he could obtain the power required to compete with the king of Holy Kingdom of Real Wuxia. However, looking at it then, there was still quite a bit of a gap between them. Not mentioning the others, just looking at the side of the king of Holy Kingdom of Real Wuxia itself, apart from the king, there were 2 other chaotic real gods, and the total number of chaotic real gods amounted to 3. As for eternal real gods, there were more than 10. Hence, this was something that was incomparable to him. After sweeping his eyes past Lei, the king of Holy Kingdom of Real Wuxia felt disdainful. After that, his eyes looked in the direction He Xiu. He Xiu, do you know the crime that you have committed? The king of Holy Kingdom of Real Wuxia's voice turned cold and it was filled with strictness. At the same time, his chaotic real god level pressure was unleashed onto He Xiu. He Xiu felt as though his body was about to be crushed completely. However, he still hung on with all his might. At the same time, his right hand exerted some force and the jade bottle broke open completely, revealing the 9 Taiqing ancient panaceas which were held by He Xiu in his hands. You wish to force me? He Xiu's eyes were completely red and he gave a shrill roar. The king of Holy Kingdom of Real Wuxia's expression turned grave and the pressure that he unleashed dissipated at once. It was obvious that he was also worried that He Xiu would destroy the Taiqing ancient panaceas in his fit of anger. He Xiu, you must be certain about your own identity. The Taiqing ancient panaceas are not something that a universe god like you can have. Even if it were your He family, they would not have the right to do so. Your father, as well as many experts of your He family, should have served as a lesson for you. If you were to hand the Taiqing ancient panaceas over obediently now, I would forgive you and spare your life. If not, you will end up the same way as your father. The king of Holy Kingdom of Real Wuxia shouted. Ah, what a joke. For so many years in the Holy Kingdom of Real, my He family has been very loyal to you and we have done many things for you. But what happened in the end? Just like before, you continued to acquiesce yourself with the Ling family to bully us and take the property of my He family. Moreover, you even had the intention of supporting the Ling family to destroy my He family. He Xiu's voice was fierce and ear-piercing. This time around, I admit that my He family is in the wrong. However, we did it to protect ourselves. My father merely wished to use the Taiqing ancient panaceas to carve out a new path for the He family. If not because of the fact that we would encounter a great disaster soon, why would my He family dare to hide the Taiqing ancient panaceas secretly? As for you, because of this matter, you disregarded many years of the He family's cordiality and exterminated the He family completely. King of Holy Kingdom of Real Wuxia, you are really ruthless. Humph, since your He family dares to betray me, you must be ready to die 10,000 times. The King of Holy Kingdom of Real Wuxia's voice was icy cold. He Xiu, I will give you one last chance. Will you hand over the Taiqing ancient panaceas or not? Haha, I refuse to hand them over. What can you do to me? At most, the Taiqing ancient panaceas will be destroyed with my death. He Xiu laughed loudly and he was filled with madness. He had been prepared to risk everything since a long time ago. Such a scene then caused the King of Holy Kingdom of Real Wuxia's expression to turn ugly. He did not care about He Xiu's abilities. However, since the Taiqing ancient panaceas were currently with He Xiu, if He Xiu were to really destroy everything, it would be extremely troublesome. Not mentioning the fact that he would not receive Sir God Lu Yin's reward, Sir God Lu Yin might even put the blame on him. He Xiu. A voice could be heard and it came from Lei. He also had a grave expression. In such a situation, you have absolutely no chance of escaping. Tell us bluntly. What must we do to get you to hand over the Taiqing ancient panaceas? The people present could tell that since He Xiu did not destroy the Taiqing ancient panaceas immediately, he definitely wanted to discuss some terms and conditions. Haha, my condition is simple and I only have one. He Xiu laughed coldly and his eyes turned scarlet like the eyes of a wild beast and he looked in the direction of the King of Holy Kingdom of Real Wuxia. I will give these 9 Taiqing ancient panaceas to the person who kills the King of Holy Kingdom of Real Wuxia as well as Ling Tianxiao who is behind him. As soon as his words left his mouth, the whole void became deathly silent at once. Many experts' eyes were also filled with astonishment. Kill the King of Holy Kingdom of Real Wuxia, kill Ling Tianxiao. Not mentioning the fact that both of them were chaotic real gods, the most important thing was that they were in the Holy Kingdom of Real Wuxia, which was the territory of the King of Holy Kingdom of Real Wuxia. Thus, how much power did the King of Holy Kingdom of Real Wuxia possess? Although there were many experts present, quite a number of them were from the 16 other holy kingdoms. Hence, these experts did not have the slightest bit of courage to fight with the King of Holy Kingdom of Real Wuxia. After all, if the King of Holy Kingdom of Real Wuxia were not killed, they would be the ones to die as there would be absolutely no way for them to leave the Holy Kingdom of Real Wuxia. As for the King of Holy Kingdom of Real Wuxia, when he saw the expressions of the surrounding experts, he laughed apathetically and his eyes became filled with contempt. Lei, are you going to attack me? The King of Holy Kingdom of Real Wuxia shot a glance at Lei. At the scene, the only person who would dare to fight him was probably Lei alone. Lei's expression was a bit ugly. If it were just killing Ling Tianxiao alone, it would still be alright. However, killing the King of Holy Kingdom of Real Wuxia. Lei shook his head. He also did not have the courage to fight with the King of Holy Kingdom of Real Wuxia in the Holy Kingdom of Real Wuxia, as it was no different from courting death. He Xiu, you have seen it as well. Even if I were to stand here for people to kill me, which person present would dare to attack me? The King of Holy Kingdom of Real Wuxia sneered. Changed to a more realistic condition, Lei also looked over. No, I only have this condition. I will only give all the Taiqing ancient panaceas to the person who manages to do it. If no one is able to do it, the Taiqing ancient panaceas will be destroyed along with my death. He Xiu roared, I will count to 3. After counting to 3, if no one takes action, I shall turn the Taiqing ancient panaceas into a waste product. 1, Upon hearing He Xiu counting, the expressions of the people present turned grave. Quite a number of people looked at the king of Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu. However, they still shook their heads. He Xiu, do you really wish to die? The king of Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu was filled with murderous intent. 2. He Xiu's eyes turned completely red. He had disregarded his life a long time ago. 3. He Xiu blurted out a 3, slowly while holding back. As soon as his words came out of his mouth, his face filled with madness and he was about to destroy all the 9 Taiqing ancient panaceas in his hands. Wait. All of a sudden a cry could be heard. The voice was low and it reverberated across the whole universe like a clap of thunder. At the same time, it struck the mind of He Xiu, causing his breathing to stop temporarily and his hands to stop what they were doing. Everyone then looked over. The person who they saw was a crimson-robed young man who carried a sword on his back and he was walking over slowly. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.